Yes, yes, y'all, it's going down right now. Episode 70 of the 22 Shots of Moods and Horrors coming at you live. I am your host, Moodz616, and of course, I've always got my hetero life mate, JP, the Mexican Panther, also known as Jonathan Paglioni. What's up, homie?
Okay, who's Jonathan Paglioni?
No idea. Just randomly came up with a name based on your initials, JP.
Oh, okay.
No idea.
I'm down.
It's an inside joke that I always do. I always just throw out random names to people, and they're like, "What?" I love that reaction. Like, why are you calling me Jonathan Paglioni? I don't know.
It's like the Italian me.
Yeah, it is like the Italian you. Exactly. Exactly. So
Interesting.
what's going on, man?
Well, just kind of hanging out, getting ready to record the podcast. I've been kind of just chilling lately, just hating the snow, really. Kind of worrying about getting to work and stuff because we actually got hit with a little bit of snow. We're supposed to get a huge snowstorm tonight.
Mm,
It was so weird. Most of the winter, we got no snow. It wasn't even cold. And then all of a sudden, we're starting to get hit with it a little bit. And I'm like, I kind of don't miss this.
you know why you guys are getting hit with snow right now? Because it's piss and rain where I am, and it's warm. So the weather just shifted because we got our winter started really, really late this year, man. Like we didn't get snow until December 15th or something, which is pretty late. And it snowed a little bit, and then it got warm. This is usually the coldest part of our entire year, and it's raining. So very strange. Maybe El Nino. I don't know. I don't know how to explain these things, man. Weather is fucking stupid. Weather just makes no sense, does it? It makes no sense. It's like December or January 20th today or something, and usually this time of year it's like -20 in Canada or 30 or whatever. No, it's piss and rain and annoying as hell. But yeah, I don't know. Weather sucks, man. But you know what I was feeling this week? I was feeling, coming into the show, and it got me thinking. I was like, it feels like a lonely show this week, man. It's just the two of us.
I felt the same way. I was like, it's been weird because we just come off of the last show with Kyle, which was the Ilsa trilogy.
Yeah.
And right before that, we had like a mega all-star show where it was like 4 hosts and we were just, cutting it up. And before that, it was 4 hosts with Jeremy, you, me, and Steve.
Yeah.
It was just, we haven't been so, just two people in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a really long time. And that's exactly what I was referring to, just the last, 3 shows, which is rare that we had, all these guests on over and over again and stuff, but all in a row. And then all of a sudden, boom, just the two of us, man.
Yeah, you go through like, I don't even know what it was, probably like 50 episodes or more where there's literally 2 to 3 people and it's the same 2 to 3 people every time. And then all of a sudden you have 4 new people appear on the show and just a couple episodes, and I love it, and we're looking forward to doing that more because it's been going well. So
Yes, yeah,
we're kind
I
of
agree.
sending a little bit of an open invitation, not fully open, but
Yeah,
if things work out, we're open to the idea of having guests on. So
we're accepting audio audition tapes, and yeah, we'll be going through those and announcing the winner. No, I'm just joking. Could you imagine we're just like, hey guys, we got a competition here.
yeah.
Not really a competition, but send in your audio audition tapes, and if we like your voice, we think it's sexy, we'll accept you. No, I don't know. We're just kind of going through. It is what it is right now, right? We're not really trying too hard to fill in a void or anything. It is what it is. Like, I don't know. I don't really know what to say.
Yeah, like we have a few guests planned coming up for a few different shows, but we're kind of just feeling it out, seeing if a couple of our old friends might want to come on, maybe some new people want to come on. We're just kind of basing that on
Yeah.
like if we've chatted with people, like you guys probably know who you are, who we're talking about, the type of people that we've had experiences with in the past, maybe like Clive Craven or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who we know we have chemistry with. That's kind of what we're, because there's nothing more awkward than if you're just on a show with somebody who you don't know and have zero chemistry with, and it's like, oh, this is awkward.
Exactly. Yeah. On that note about the show, I just want to give a little reminder to everybody out there to go and subscribe to the new iTunes feed. Of course, our iTunes feed has moved over to now we're being hosted by Horphilia, so the link will be down, of course, down in the description. So remember, if you haven't resubscribed and you're listening to this right now, go over and resubscribe, on iTunes so you can check out the new episodes.
Yeah, it's extremely important. It helps the show move forward. It helps the show get noticed. And one thing that I will add to that is make sure you guys give us a rating and review on iTunes. And the reason I bring that up this time, normally I just bring it up because I want you guys to do it, but this time I actually have more of a reason to bring it up. So we actually got 2 reviews, which is exactly 2 more than we had on our old feed.
We didn't have one on the old feed. No, we
Not
didn't, did we?
One.
Yeah.
And we asked for it many times, which I found just infuriating because I was just like, come on, man. like I would even
Well,
do it.
to be honest, iTunes doesn't even make it that easy. Like even
They
when
make
you
it extremely hard.
Even when you click on this iTunes link, say if you're on Horphilia and you click on the iTunes link and it takes you to iTunes, the subscribe button isn't right there.
Yeah, because you actually have to sign into your iTunes account.
Yeah,
on iTunes itself.
I know, and if people didn't know that, they just click on that and be like, "Where's the subscribe button?"
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thing.
Well, right? I figure the people that do know that use iTunes all the time. So we're mostly talking to the people that use iTunes. Like I use iTunes for all of my podcasts.
Yeah, see, I'm just like a newbie to like. I mean, I use iTunes because like I upload music into my iTunes and things like that. But to go onto the iTunes store and things like that, like I'll use my app on my phone. But like on my laptop and stuff, I never go on it.
Well, it's so convenient because look, you subscribe to these podcasts and you have it on your phone or your iPod, and then you open your iPod and it's a Monday and you're like, okay, I'm going to refresh all the new podcasts. And then you're like, oh, download this one, download this one, download this one. You sit your phone aside, you let them all download, and then you got a week's worth of podcasts to listen to. It's
exactly,
super fun to do it that way. But I'm super happy that we finally got some reviews. Ratings, those are even maybe more important than reviews right away, because if you don't even have 5 ratings, they won't even display your ratings. iTunes, for one thing, the way that they do things.
Oh, there's like a minimum amount that you have to have before that you get acknowledged.
Yeah, and
as a real podcast.
Their formula is kind of silly, but at the same time, it weeds out all the podcasts that nobody cares about. So.
What you're saying is when we had 0 ratings and reviews before, no one cared about us then.
Yeah, and it was hard to find us in the feed. But the more whenever you get
we suck.
Whenever you get rated and you have reviews, if I search in Banana Laser podcast or Exploding Heads Horror podcast, in the sidebar, it might show the 22 Shots of Moodz and Horror podcast as related, a related show, and that's what you essentially want, because whenever I'm looking for podcasts, if I see one that looks cool in the sidebar, then I might click on that one. And that's how you get a bigger audience on iTunes, which is the kind of a market that we have not tapped into. We got the YouTube thing down. We have the horror group page thing down. But iTunes, we just really have never... iTunes and Twitter, there's a whole community out there that we just have not been able to, let our show out, and people haven't noticed it yet. And at the end of the day, that's what keeps us inspired to do this, is hearing feedback, hearing people talk about the show, hearing conversations be started. I mean, me and Moodz used to sit and talk on Skype, regardless of if we had a show or not. But when we're putting in the work to edit it and produce it and actually, schedule it, then the point is for other people to hear it. If not, we just not record it and do it anyway, and talk about stuff like we used to.
I always forget about Twitter because me, I'm like art-tarded when it comes to Twitter. When I upload videos into YouTube, I actually, they notificate on Twitter, of course, right? And I always forget about that. And every once in a while, someone will, comment or share my post or like my post or whatever. And it's been happening quite
I like when it happens. It's oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll do reviews for Midnight Releasing, and of course, they get put into the Twitter feed, and it's cool when Midnight acknowledges that, and then the director, and then cast members, and they're sharing it around and stuff. And I just feel like I actually did something good. It's cool, and they're just thanking me for the the kind reviews and things like that. But it's just that moment where I forget that it's on there, and then that happens.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I've been a little active on Twitter,
and then I say to myself, I'm like, "Wow, I'm using Twitter, I guess." It's indirectly kind of. I kind of forget it goes there, but I mean, at least it's working. It's getting out there.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm trying to do that more too. I'm trying to just use Twitter, and it was funny because like I forget what I did. Oh yeah, I was doing my 365-day movie challenge. I've been tweeting out the movies I've been watching and stuff like that. And the directors, I don't know how the hell they see this.
they
If they
must
just
search it.
search or if they have notifications for whenever it's mentioned or something like that. But they always seem to respond, or like a high percentage of time, maybe not a high percentage of time, but there's been times where directors have responded like, I hope you enjoy my movie, I worked really hard on it, or it's way more intimate on Twitter with
Mhm.
the people who've actually made these movies and stuff like that. I really like that because it gets an instant sense of like, they get a sense of recognition, and then you just feel like, wow, they actually care that people watch their stuff, and you remember that these are real people and that they put their heart and soul into it. And I like that. I think that it's nice. And also, I've just kind of been chatting it up with other podcasts and stuff like that a little bit when I can, which is fun. So I'm trying to use the Twitter thing a little bit more. It's kind of weird. I never was able to really like use it as social media other than just like a news gatherer.
Mhm.
So I'm
Mhm.
kind of just trying to learn it and
That's
like
something
stuff like that. I'm
it's
not
something
that witty. It seems like Twitter's for witty people.
it's something that I don't really do a lot of is I'm not trying to sound snobby or anything. I don't generally talk to a lot of other podcasts and stuff. It's not that that I don't want to. I just don't for whatever reasons, except for, maybe the Exploding Heads horror podcast, Brandon and Dave. But I don't know, man. I just don't ever do it. I think that's kind of like your thing, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
It's one thing
also,
I,
you
I
don't
always
really
forget to do.
listen to a ton either. Like
No, I
these are
really,
all ones that I listen to, so
yeah.
it's easy to talk to them.
Yeah, I mean, and that's pretty much. I listen to like Killer POV and like the movie Crypt and things like that. I mean, the
But
one thing.
even then, you're listening to more than you used to. So
Oh
maybe
yeah,
of
yeah. I mean, I would dabble here and there. Like I wouldn't even half the time wouldn't even subscribe. I would just kind of listen here and there and stuff. But those are the ones that I'm really interested in. Killer POV is just. I really like that show, man. It's really
yeah,
good.
it's because they have a different means, right? They're in the industry, so it's really a unique perspective on what's going on in horror,
Yeah.
something that the average person can't do. So
Mhm.
that's why I think that show's so successful and so awesome, and that really is probably my favorite podcast to listen to, by the way.
Yeah, big shout out to the Exploding Heads horror podcast. Of course, they're doing the top 10 show with us too. But those guys are, of course, I thought that they were gonna be making big moves and stuff with Banana Laser and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting how you can just make a mark for yourself so instantly too. Of course, they when they did their top 10 show, they did a top 10 worst horror films of 2015, which made some bank recently too. But it's funny how like quick you can just get notoriety, right?
Oh yeah,
Like
Brandon got
Brad.
a quote, man.
I
He
mean,
got
when
a
you think
quote.
about it, like, I mean, we've been, people have commented and given us credit and stuff like that over a couple years for certain things that we've done on the show and stuff. But man, Brandon made a splash right there
Yeah,
with just, one of the picks that he had on his top 10 list. But, that's just the way it goes and stuff. So,
I think
yeah.
it's awesome. I mean, we've had directors and stuff usually positively, you know, say thanks, or I heard the podcast or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't think, besides the Mutantis one, we haven't really had a negative experience, and that wasn't even that negative. Like the chick
No,
was like totally understood.
actually that was a really good conversation. She completely thanked us for just being honest. That
Yeah.
was, if I took anything from that conversation that I had with her, which was, I might add, a long conversation. Like it wasn't just like thanks for the review, oh thank you, bye kind of thing. No, we actually sat there and talked for like a long time. And if I took one thing away, it was, that we were just being honest. And that always kind of stuck with me. And, I mean, it's not like we weren't being honest before these reviews. I mean, that's something that we always kind of vowed to do on the show was, with me and you, was be honest about
Yeah.
everything. And I get that feedback a lot from people, but it was nice to hear, from a director, that you trashed the shit out of the film. I personally enjoyed it. Like I like, retarded things like that. And, and she was very accepting of that. And it was just, it was a nice conversation to have, it
Yeah,
just made
I
me kind
mean,
of feel good.
I started even getting like kind of personal where I said that I felt like it was degrading the horror genre, like
Which
films like
is,
that.
yeah,
And
I mean, that's
yeah,
a little tough because,
it is a little tough, but it was how I felt at the time. I was very angry. I was like kind of annoyed that that this film was made, but you know, I was being a little bitch as well. You know,
But
I get a little passionate, and when I see, because at the time that's all I was seeing was shit like that. I just watched worst horror movie ever made by Bill Above, and I was just like,
yeah,
this is too much.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's totally understandable, right? It's that, the place and time, and you're just having a rough go. I mean, that happens to me, man. I've watched good movies at times in my life where I have been watching just a whole pile of fucking bullshit,
Mhm.
and probably didn't enjoy those movies as much, for
Well, I
whatever
started doing
reasons.
that with the Universal Monsters movies. Remember,
Yeah,
I
I mean
said that I
sometimes
was
there's an
watching them,
overload.
and I was like, these are just they're all the same after a while. And I was starting to get. It was mainly the creature from the black, not the creature, the mummy. The mummy ones were just driving me crazy. I was like, these suck. These movies suck at a certain point.
Hmm, hmm.
But you know, I do. But then now I look back and I look at the highlights of that, and I had such a blast doing it.
Exactly, right. And that's the thing, man. Like even this week, it seemed like I was watching nothing but serious films. Like everything I watched was, serious. Like I was watching like giallos and like road horror films
And
and
artists.
and martyrs, of course, yeah. And of course this week, if you guys haven't read the headline, of course we're doing the Cat People original film from 42 and the remake from 1982. So again,
Yeah.
serious films. So I've been watching nothing but serious films, and I threw in a couple action films that were pretty serious and for what they are. But anyways, the point is, last night I finished up watching the Cat People remake, and I said to myself, I'm like, man, I really need something to just look at the screen and just not take serious. And I just recently got Class of Nukem High Part 2, the Blu-ray in, and I
That
had to
came
pop.
out finally.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I need to pop this in. I was fucking roaring. I was having a blast. I was really, really enjoying it, but it's just like, it's such a stupid movie. It's so much fun, but I just needed that change. I
Yeah.
was like on serious overload, and I think what I'm saying is like change is super good, man. Like sometimes if you get into those modes, and depending on when you're watching films and things like that, sometimes you don't enjoy them as much as you probably would if
Mhm.
if things were mixed up and things like that. So
See, that happens to me all the time, but in
yeah.
the opposite way, where it feels like I'm watching everything. I'm watching everything I'm watching is just silly or not serious or not well made. So
Hmm.
I those tend to wear thin on me faster than when I'm watching all serious, because I'm still not burnt out on watching serious movies, and
Hmm.
I've pretty much done it
See, I
for
love to
a while now.
laugh, right? I love to laugh. So like I can throw on, Class of Nukem High Part 2 and sit there and fucking start laughing instantly.
I'm not
Even
trying to
if
brag or anything, but I laugh so much at work every day that I
I,
don't even need to laugh when I come home.
That's a weird thing. Well, I mean, that's good though. If you're laughing at work, I mean, at least you're not taking your shit
Yeah,
up
that's the
serious.
only reason I've stayed at this job, because
Yeah.
it's I have so much fun with the people there.
Hmm, hmm.
It's shitty pay, but it's fun. So I'm like not hating my life.
Yeah, that would just be abysmal, man. If shitty pay, but like super lame to go to. Everyone's all super serious, and oh, that would be horrible.
Yeah, but
Fucking
one
horrible.
thing I wanted to say, Moods, before we move on out of here is that the reviews. Like, thank you so much for the reviews. Derek did leave us one. Wicked awesome podcast. Great conversation about horror films, topics, and really interesting reviews. And the hosts are awesome.
Thank you,
I would
Derek.
agree with all of that, Derek. By the way, so thank you for that review. He gave us a 5-star rating as well. Derek might be a little bit biased, but I'm still sticking to it that we're awesome. And then the second review came from somebody who I actually don't know, so this one is just a random ass person. Your mama's man. This podcast is amazing, 5 stars. If you love horror movies, then this is the podcast for you! Exclamation point. Thank you
Wow.
guys so much for the reviews. Anybody who's interested in potentially, I'll think of something cool to send if we get 10 reviews within the next 3 months. I will give something away that'll be well worth it.
Yeah, man. Y'all names go into a hat or whatever, randomizer. Who
So
knows? And then pick somebody out of there, and then yeah, man, you guys win a copy of Class of Nukem High Part 2 on Blu-ray.
if we get over 10 reviews or over by March 22nd, I will give you guys something cool.
Class of Nukem High Blu-ray.
Wait, sure.
I don't know why. It's because the last thing I
Well,
said, but
I had like I was gonna I would yeah, we'll do that. Class of Nukem High.
It doesn't have to be that, but no, that's very cool, man. You know, the best thing about that, that review from someone that we don't know is he put emphasis into it. He left a exclamation point at the end. So, he's really digging it.
Yeah, well, and
that's what made it all worthwhile, just to read that out. And I was like, and that's cool, man. It's like, I stay away from the news because I like to be shocked on the show. So apparently I stay away from the reviews too, to be shocked that way also. That was cool. That was very cool.
Yeah, so Derek actually had 6 exclamation points in his sentence, so.
Derek likes the exclamation points, I have to say. He sometimes even abuses that. Like sometimes, he'll be writing something and I'll actually count them and be like, man, he left 9 in that sentence. That's pretty good. He's really, really excited about that. But there's nothing wrong with being excited. It looks very enthusiastic. It's good. It's good.
Yeah. So. Yep.
But yeah. All right. So do we got some news?
Yeah, we got a little bit of news here. Not much this week. The first little bit of news I thought was just cool. It's not necessarily news, but it's like of note. And that is that El Rey is going to be marathoning the Nightmare on Elm Street films. And it's actually going to be hosted by Robert Englund, which I find super cool. It's like a throwback to where I was a kid and like Joe Bob Briggs was hosting these horror movies and talking about them. I've always been a fan of that format where during the commercial breaks you have an actor or just a host and they talk about the movie and they talk about its legacy and its history and behind the scenes stuff. It's it makes you want to stick around and watch the films.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because I was looking at the lineup or the schedule lineup for it, and there's no part 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And is there a reason for that?
I think it just has to do with there's also no remake. Probably has to do with
the remake makes sense. I mean, nobody wants to watch it anyway, so.
Well, could you imagine Robert Englund like taking a break and the remake just goes to commercial and he's like, so that was Jackie Earle Haley's performance of Freddy. It sucked.
I know. I could just see. I would actually pay to see him introducing that movie, and being serious about it.
Yeah. So
I don't think it would ever happen. So. Yeah.
So basically, this is going to be on Valentine's Day, 45 hours straight of Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's something that's really neat. I think that it probably has to do with maybe like a rights thing. They probably just couldn't get those ones, or
but why not? Sure. Though? But why not though? They're the same studio.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's why I was confused because I was thinking, no, I was like, those are totally the same studio. So I don't know what's going on there.
Well, I do know back in the day, Monster Vision, Friday the 13th. I remember I was there. I watched it. Joe Bob Briggs actually was tripping because they didn't have the rights to show part 4. And he's like, there's crucial plot lines in part 4. We only have 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6, and 7, I think. And, as you know, that Paramount had done all 7 of those.
Exactly.
I don't know what the difference was. I honestly don't know. But
they had to get Corey Feldman to sign off on something?
Yeah. Well, he's in part 5 too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess that doesn't make any sense, does it? Fucking strange.
So basically this is starting Saturday, February 13th. I mean, I am having a difficult time talking today. My apologies. Starting at 6 a.m., we're starting with Freddy's Nightmares, Black Tickets, Freddy's Nightmares, Love Stinks, Freddy's Nightmares, The Art of Death, Freddy's Nightmares, No More, Must a Nice Guy, followed by Elm Street 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then a repeat of Elm Street 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then Sunday, February 14th, you have Freddy's Nightmares Deadline, Freddy's Nightmares Judy Miller Come On Down, Freddy's Nightmares Saturday Night Special, Freddy's Nightmares Sister's Keeper, and then Elm Street 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then Elm Street 2, 3, 4, 5.
Nice. I think that's really cool, man, that they're throwing in Freddy's Nightmares in there.
Yeah, it is cool.
It's given people a chance to, check out some episodes that they might have never seen before.
Which most people haven't seen anyway.
Well, I know. It's just so hard to get a hold of. Of course, it's never been released on media or nothing because of rights issues and things like that. But it's I remember we've talked about this a few times, but man, it's a bizarre show.
I think the pilot's one of the coolest things, which I believe is titled. No, I think that's the No More Mr. Nice Guy episode, and
it was directed by Toby Hooper.
Toby Hooper, yeah,
right. Yeah, and like some of the episodes are just so strange, but that's like one of the most. I want that to come out so bad one day. If we can get the Wonder Years and and full music and everything,
it has to come out.
Why can't we get this? Because I think the rights are very similar to this. It has music issues and things like that. So Yeah, man, this would be totally cool. But yeah, big ups to El Rey for, acquiring some of the rights to, to show that on TV. That's really cool, man.
Yeah,
Really
and
cool.
El Rey is actually a station that I used to watch a lot, and unfortunately,
Man, I
I
wish I got El Rey,
lost it.
man.
I
I wish.
lost it. It costs a little bit more. It's in a different package now with DirecTV, and that bummed me out because I used to love El Rey.
Yeah, that sucks. I wish we got it up here too, because that'd be pretty cool to check out. I've heard really good things about that network, so unfortunately, we just don't get it. But
Yes,
they must be doing pretty good though. You have to admit. I
I think
mean,
they are.
well, I mean, to get Robert Englund, because do you honestly think they're like, hey, Robert, we're planning on doing this Nightmare on Elm Street 42-hour marathon. Do you want to jump aboard? We got about $20 in a bag of Skittles for you, but no, I bet you they're paying him pretty decent to do this.
Yeah, probably.
So that means that El Rey's doing pretty good, because I can't see Robert just being like, yeah, man, I'm totally down for that 42-hour marathon. It's like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I imagine that he'll probably only record segments for each of the movies and each of the
Yeah, well, of course,
episodes, and then
of
they'll
course,
just
it's all
replay
going to be
them.
pre-recorded. I
Yeah,
mean, he'll probably end up doing maybe like an hour total of on-screen, stuff.
yeah,
But at the same time, they still had to get him. He still agreed to do it, so that's really cool.
yeah. The idea that these Freddy's Nightmares exist, I think there's like 40 episodes or something like that. And every episode is introed by Freddy and outroed by Freddy. So
Yeah,
there's so much footage of Freddy that so many people have never even seen.
that's right.
Because
That's
and
right.
it is ridiculous. It is over the top. I've watched probably 10 episodes total. And some
Yeah.
episodes actually center around the Freddy Krueger mythos. Like I think like 2 or 3 a season, two or th-
Hmm.
two, two to two, 3, 4, or 5 a season actually are a Freddy story, which is pretty cool.
Hmm.
And the pilot's probably the most interesting of all because it literally is a prequel to the Elm Street
Yeah,
films.
it's totally the backstory, which I thought was really, really cool.
It's
Yeah,
actually not bad.
good start. Remember, like 3, 4 episodes in, like me and you were talking, going, "What? Like this show is weird." It was like super, super strange. I
Yeah.
would love for that to come out, man, so I could actually check them out all out. I remember renting. They used to release them on VHS or whatever, like a few episodes on each tape here and there, and but they were always random. From what I remember, I don't think they were like in sequence or anything.
Yeah.
It's so strange. So I've probably seen like random episodes from season 1 and 2, and I have no idea what I've seen, but yeah,
Yeah.
that needs to
I
come out.
I agree. That is one of my. That is. I think I did a wish list a while back, and Freddy's Nightmares was like at the top of it.
I feel like there's that void there. Nightmare on Elm Street is my favorite franchise, and I'm just missing like this part. There's, like you said, there's Freddy footage, and there's things going on that I just don't have.
You know what I
And it
think it is,
bugs me.
dude?
It bugs me, man.
I think the people over at Warner Brothers who I think hold the rights to those right now are just waiting. They're just waiting and they're waiting for the
For the
perfect
right time, and they're just
opportunity.
gonna pounce it on the fans.
Yeah, and I think that what they're waiting for is the 22 shots of Moodz and Horror to record a special Elm Street episode.
Yeah, you think so?
I think that's what it is.
All the guys at Warner Brothers like, when are these fucking dickheads gonna record that?
I mean,
Nightmare
there's
on Elm Street
70
show?
episodes in. Jesus Christ. They've done Halloween.
Do
They've
the
done
damn show already. We
Silent
have
Night,
this shit
Deadly
ready to go.
Night.
We have this shit ready to go. They're all in beautiful high def transfers, and oh yeah, do the fucking show. Yeah, that'd be cool, man.
So, moving on, we have Fox developing a slasher TV show called Dead Mall. Apparently, it's going to be a slasher film set in a mall. It's supposed
Yes.
to be a horror
Fucking kidding me?
comedy. Horror comedy.
Oh, come on. Gotta fucking ruin it. JP, shut up. Stop talking. When you say slasher set in a mall, you just move on to the next piece. You don't tell me it's a fucking horror comedy. Come on.
So it's going to be a TV show, horror comedy, set in a mall, and it is Sony Pictures at NBC, I guess.
Man, they are just
Or
abusing
Fox.
this TV horror shows, aren't they?
They are.
So it's probably, playing off the fact that like Final Girls did relatively well, right? Well, we can kind of exploit this horror comedy slasher subgenre that, is going to be created.
Is that what that show was called? Or are you talking about Scream Queens?
No, I'm talking about the movie, the Final Girls.
Oh.
Just being a horror, it's like a comedy slasher film, right? Let's roll with that.
There's like a million a year. I
Oh,
can't
I
even
know.
keep up.
But that one is like PG-13 comedy. It's not even like dirty. It's like almost TV worthy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
It
it's like,
is.
but I mean, that has such a, like, I mean, how much I love horror films set in malls, and slasher films, my favorite subgenre. So that was going perfect. Who knows? I can't judge it before it comes. Maybe it's good. And you said it's going to be on Fox?
Yes. I think
Oh,
Fox or NBC. I don't know. Is that Fox? I'm not sure.
no, Fox and NBC are completely different. What the fuck? Really? Put that shit on a good network.
Yeah, I'm just completely uninterested if I'm being honest.
Oh, I got to check it out just because I want to see them all.
Yeah.
I know it's not going to be like Dawn of the Dead Mall, but maybe it won't even be Chopping Mall.
Yeah. So after that, Turbo Kid is getting a US release, and it is a
Baby,
3 disc
baby.
collector's edition. Looks pretty. Honestly, it looks better than that Steelbook. It does.
Oh, he's fucking so pro-American. He's like, fuck Canada, man. Doesn't even give us any credit. He's like, oh man, no, I do. I will admit though, like that edition is pretty cool, but it's just porting over everything that's on our Steelbook, dude.
Is it
You've
is it
never.
really everything though?
I think so. Well, from what I heard, and it's probably just all rooms, but apparently all the features that are on this Canadian one are on that, and I didn't hear of anything
So
else. But
is
who knows?
that
Who knows?
Canadian edition 3 discs as well?
No, it's like 14.
14 discs?
No, just joking. So okay, so this edition has 3 discs. Is one of them the soundtrack?
Let's see here.
Does it
We
say on
got
there?
disc 1, Turbo Kid plus commentaries. Disc 2, we got making
DVD.
of. Got some other stuff, still galleries. Don't think there is a soundtrack.
Oh, so what the fuck's on the? Oh, is a DVD Blu-ray, and
It's
then
DVD Blu-ray.
oh, okay, so that's why there's 3 discs. Oh, that would have been cool if they incorporated the soundtrack into that. So I would have to take a look to see what the features are, but I don't know why they would have 3 discs for that edition. If there's commentary making it, that stuff's on there. Does it have the short that the movie is based on?
T is for Turbo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was
So
that an ABC's A Death submission?
that was the one that didn't get picked.
Huh.
That was the submission that didn't make the movie. So
It lost the toilet, probably, huh?
it did. It lost the toilet. Yep. It
Huh.
totally did. But yeah, I thought that edition looked really cool. And I even said that, I was like, oh, maybe I got to double dip. And I'm like, fuck, I can't double dip, man. I can't import that shit. It'll cost me
I
like
probably won't even buy
$400.
this movie for another 5 years.
Yeah, probably. Well, I mean, is there a retail price on that at all?
Yeah, $29.99.
29. That's it. That's actually not that bad
Yeah, I think
for
so.
3 discs. And considering all
It'll
things.
be 20. It'll probably be 20 when it comes out because that's the retail price. Nobody plays retail.
Yeah, our steelbook up here I think was like $22.99 or something like that.
Yeah,
But
this
then
one
again,
has a booklet and stuff.
yeah, I think that one does too. If I can't remember, but yeah, that's cool, man. That movie's getting that much love already. I mean, it's got quite the following, which is
Yeah, it did. I mentioned it in my 365-day challenge on Twitter, and the director liked it, so
nice,
he's paying attention.
nice. Cool.
So after that, we have Accelerator Media acquiring psychological thriller Sunchoke. This one, I think I might have actually posted news about this on our website, actually. And this one, I think that it's being described as some sort of mashup. That how they always do those different like mashups where it's like, hey, this is kind of like this and meets this. I think they're calling this one similar to like a Repulsion by Roman Polanski.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it sounds like
That movie's fucking awesome.
Yeah, the CEO of Exhilarated Media said Sunchoke is a deeply unsettling psychological thriller in the vein of Roman Polanski's Repulsion that will leave audiences emotionally shaken and questioning the line between reality and nightmare. It's an impressive, assured work that marks Ben Cressamend as an important filmmaker to watch. So actually, when I posted this news, some people I believe who saw this at a festival actually commented and said that it really was good. So
That's good. That's good.
yeah, so
If it's in that vein, man, that sounds worthy of a watch for me.
Yep, definitely. And don't know much about it besides that. There is a plot description you can check out on our website, actually. And yeah, I think it's coming out later this year. I don't know if there was a release date or not. After that, we have Scream Queens, which we mentioned previously, is actually being picked up for a second season. So that's happening. I know,
So much enthusiasm too. Well, that's happening.
yeah, I've
I
heard
still haven't gotten around
such
to watching it. I've
mixed
heard
things.
nothing
I've
but
heard
good
people
things.
literally say it's the worst thing on television, and then
Yeah,
I heard people like Brandon say like it is genius.
yeah, but Brandon also loves gravy, and if we're dealing with comedy here, I I, I think Brandon's retarded. Like, no, I'm just
I
joking, buddy.
haven't seen.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like I have literally heard the same thing from worst show on TV to like one of the best things out there, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty. That's a wide range right there. I don't think it's something I'd be overly that intrigued by, but
Yeah, see,
I don't know. I mean, I can't really. I'm not judging it right now. I'd have to check it out. Just from what I've heard from reliable sources and things like that. I just don't know what to think of this. So
yeah, it's kind of one of those things where I doubt I will like it that much, but who knows? I'm
who
not a
knows?
big fan of like comedy.
That's the thing. I mean, come on, man. You don't really have a sense of humor.
I think I'm
You just
really
you have a very distinct sense of humor. That's what it
yeah,
is.
it's
That's what it is.
just
And I mean, these things are. I mean, I guess to you probably not. Smartly written. I mean, I've heard some people say that it actually is. It's pretty clever and things like that. So who knows? Who really knows with this shit,
yeah.
man? I don't know, man. I'm honestly just getting tired of the words horror and comedy put together. To be honest, I mean, it's getting abused.
If it wasn't, I'll tell you right now, if it wasn't for What We
It's
Do in
going
the
rampant.
Shadows and Final Girls this year, I would have totally lost all love for horror comedy. But those two films kind of like reminded me that oh yeah, this could be fun.
I really enjoyed Final
And
Girls.
Deathgasm.
I really enjoyed Final Girls, but oddly enough, it never even made my top 30, which was kind of weird. So I mean,
That's weird.
in a sense, I guess subconsciously it was like it was okay to me. I mean, I liked it, but
Yeah.
it just wasn't like to the point where I need to buy that shit right now. I can't wait to rewatch that movie. So I don't know. I just thought like Deathgasm and What We Do in the Shadows are just so much better, man. So much better. Suburban Gothic, funny shit. Ray Wise.
Yep.
You never did
So
see it, did you?
nope, I didn't.
Dude, that's a
Did
shame,
not.
man. It was funny.
Yeah, I hear that was why. It was weird. It was just one of
Not
those
great.
names that didn't stay with me.
What's that? Suburban Gothic?
Yeah, the title of it just didn't stay with me. I kept
Oh,
forgetting it.
yeah. That's good. That's good.
So after that, we have Stranger Things, which is premiering on Netflix this July, starring Winona Ryder. And this one is
When no
supposed to, yeah, this is actually going to premiere on Netflix, which Netflix has been doing that quite a bit lately. I believe 3 Blumhouse films actually just dropped on Netflix out of nowhere a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, big
I've
ups
yet
to
to hear
Blumhouse,
anything
man.
about them. Blumhouse is seriously making huge waves. Like we were just talking before the show how much I love their website and the type of articles they post, but they're also just they're just putting out a lot of movies. They're at least seems passionate. I've heard interviews with them. They seem, Jason Blum and we know from Killer POV, those Rebecca McKendry and Rob G are
Hmm.
like editors over there. So I just like what they're doing. Even though maybe some of their films, yeah, of course they're gonna have their cash in films like Sinister 2 where they need to make money, but that gives them
Yeah,
room to make other films that they can take risks on.
true that. True that.
So
I haven't seen Sinister 2 yet, but I'll eventually get around to it. You know.
yeah.
It's just not high priority for me, man. Like my thoughts on the first one. I wasn't overly the biggest fan. I really, really preferred the Canal, which actually did make my top 30 of this year. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Which okay, so
But big ups to Blumhouse, though, man. They're doing big things. And then the website, too, man. We're just on there pre-gaming it and checking out Blumhouse. Lots of good articles. So, if you guys want some interesting reading, go check out blumhouse.com.
yeah, definitely.
That's not a shameless plug because we have nothing to do with Blumhouse. We're
Yeah,
just giving them props.
at all.
Shout
Yeah.
outs. Shout outs to Blumhouse and
Yep.
Killer POV.
Yep. So after that, we kind of find out that I guess I could give the description of this one, Stranger Things. In a series, a young boy vanishes into thin air. As friends, family, and local police search for answers, they are drawn into an extraordinary mystery involving top secret experiments, terrifying supernatural forces, and one very strange little girl. So that is hitting July 15th. It
And
does
one
not sound that
strange little
interesting,
girl,
actually, to
one
me.
very strange little girl, one strange, one very strange little girl. I love that. I love that. That's in the description. It's great.
Yeah. Uh,
That doesn't sound great at all.
Netflix nabs XYZ's post-apocalyptic film Arc. This one is premiering. Actually, doesn't say. Does not say when that one is premiering. This news this week sucks, dude. I was reaching for anything. It's a post-apocalyptic
It
thriller.
it did seem like it was a rather slow week because just didn't see a lot of things being posted. You know, in my vision. I don't go searching around the net like some people like you do, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it just didn't seem like a lot. I mean, as far as I know, nobody died this week, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, that is a good thing.
Because like I said, I didn't want to start that segment up every week. Well, this week's deaths are, yeah, that's just
Yeah.
not funny. It's just not funny or fun. Who wants to listen to that every week? Not this guy.
Uh, at sundown. Jeez, I don't know what my problem is today, guys. At
Sundown.
Sundance, Netflix makes another acquisition called Under the Shadow. Don't really know what that one's about either, but I wrote it down. So,
I have
I
no
mean,
idea what it's
honestly,
about,
dude,
but I'm gonna
the
report.
problem with some of that news is you click on the article. I think I got most of this stuff from Bloody Disgusting, by the way. You click on the article, and then it's just it's stuff that I don't feel like writing down because I don't even want to read back. It's like descriptions of I don't even like. I'm getting to the point where I don't even want to read descriptions anymore of films.
Mhm. Yeah, it was kind of like the whole American guinea pig thing. How they're making like 4,000 more films.
Yeah, like I was gonna report news on American Guinea Pig and like its Indiegogo campaign, but the problem is like the campaign listing is so long. There's so much to read to. I don't even know what's going on. There's like 8 films listed. I'm like, are they making 8 films or what's going on here? And I didn't feel like reading all of it, so I was like, you know what? I'm not even reporting this.
It wouldn't surprise me if they are making 8 films
Yeah,
because the
no, I
Indiegogo
think
for
I
the
think
second
that
one's done.
is the thing
Is
that
the
they're trying.
Indiegogo for the third one, or like
Second one,
second
I
one's
think.
already done? So that was just funding
But they
for
have like
post
eight.
production and things
I
like
think
that.
they have like
So it's already filmed.
18,000 of their. I think 2,000 that they was looking for. So
They were looking for 2,000 and got 18.
something like that.
Wow, people are really, really. I know. I mean, I never got a chance to see it because, of course, same old song and dance. But Unearthed Films releases in Canada are so expensive. They're like 30-35 bucks for a DVD. So I never got around to checking that out. Bouquet of Blood and Guts. But yeah, it has its fans though. That's another film right there that I've heard everything from one end of the spectrum being like, yeah, it was fucking crazy awesome, great gore. Eight the Chosen One did a great job in it, and to the biggest piece of shit I've seen all year. So
Yeah, and you know what? Yeah. So they was asking for 2,000, and they got 18,000. In their first campaign for the Bouquet of Blood and Guts, they got
it's got
35,000.
fans. Got fans, man. It's got fans. Well, I mean, if they got 35, they got 18 on this one. I guess some of those fans were let down from the first one, weren't they?
Yeah.
That's actually
Or
quite a
just
depletion.
it's not as big of a deal, right? When you first announce like American Guinea Pig, it has a bigger boom than like when you announce a sequel.
Yeah, I
So
mean that is true. So,
the
but like,
last
I'm confused on why like they're thinking that far ahead with like 4 more films. Like that's
it's not
ridiculous.
even 4. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And these actually have like legitimate titles
They
for
have
them too.
titles and directors.
Jesus Christ, that's so fucked up, man. Like that's really, you know, putting yourself out there. Like they're planning on. Huh. That just blows my mind. I've never seen something like that where so many films are planned. Like a whole franchise is planned out at one time.
Yeah, well, I don't think that these are hard to make.
Well, I mean, they are doing practical effect. I mean, they're still films, right? Like, I mean,
Are they? I
you're
haven't
not.
watched it yet, but I've heard people say these aren't even films.
I mean, the effects are good. Just put it that way. So it takes
Okay.
time to do that shit. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, essentially, they're just kind of they're gore flicks, right? Torture gore flicks.
Yeah,
I didn't want to say.
I actually
I
don't
didn't
know.
say
I
torture.
literally know like zero about it, other than the Eight the Chosen
Well,
One is in the first one.
yeah. I mean, if you've never seen any of the original Guinea Pig films,
I've seen the first one, the
yeah,
one with it's like not, it's like 24 minutes long or something. And it's just some chick like tied up, getting beat.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, so the last little piece of news here, and I said I wasn't even going to talk about this stuff anymore, but it's very simple and it's non-news. It's news that's non-news. So David Bruckner, who was originally attached to Friday the 13th, he originally was brought in to do a found footage version. He talked briefly, I forget who did the interview, it might have been Fangoria. He talked briefly about what his ideas were for that and the problems of making a found footage Friday the 13th film. He then says that the studio decided against that and it kind of gave him much more creative freedom to write a Friday the 13th film. So they worked on a Dazed and Confused that meets Friday the 13th type Friday the 13th film where they really focused on the characters. So that's kind of what he said his version was going to be. But
I just don't. I'm just so fucking confused, like how the found footage angle of Friday the 13th was ever an idea and was actually considered to be a legit idea. I mean, just put it this way. I mean, if they were considering this like 8 years ago, you know, which I think they probably were, you know, but like say if it was like 8 years ago, like right in the heyday of like, you know, found footage films, I mean, it's really tailed off. I mean,
and I think that was one of the thing with their decision, though. At the end of the day, was like, okay, it's like not as hot as it was.
Well, that's exactly what I mean. Yeah, like I said, it would have been made a lot more sense years and years ago. But now, of course, you got to get away from that idea. Like, what is? There's no question here. You know, you can't just put out I mean, honestly, I bet you the fan backlash got to them a little bit on that one.
That too.
You know, it had to have affected it. But I mean, plus it was past its time. I mean, they've been procrastinating and beating around the bush with these ideas for so long that it affects everything. You know, timing is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's past its time, so you have to revive this. But now it's just getting to the point where, you know, it's going to be what, another fucking 4 years before the film comes out. You know, it's getting ridiculous.
If anybody heard my prediction on the podcast, the end of the year show podcast, where I said I bet you we see a promotional still, a teaser poster, a trailer, some sort of solid thing that is grounded to show that this film is in the process of being made, Nightmare on Elm Street, before we see one for Friday the 13th or Halloween, if that makes sense. I bet we see some sort of promotional piece of something that shows that the film is actually being made for Nightmare on Elm Street before we ever see it for Friday the 13th or Halloween. That's my kind of bold prediction.
Yeah, I know. These are all fucking messes right now. When it comes down to it, they're just all a bunch of messes.
Yeah, it's kinda... so disappointing. And I heard I listened to an episode of Killer POV recently, actually. They had Shelley from Friday the 13th Part 3 on there. And one of the things he said was, I think the problem...
What, was he really annoying on Killer POV?
No, that dude is so different now. He's like... I
was just joking.
But he said one of the things that he thinks that's wrong is that they're overthinking it.
Yes.
Like they could have made 8 Friday the 13th films in the 4 years they've announced one.
Holy shit, man. Shelley, you know, he said he's basically quoting us.
Mm-hmm.
He said the same thing. They're overthinking this. Guys, it's a Friday the 13th film. And that's exactly, you know, he said exactly what we did. You know, they made one every year in the 80s. There was no problem writing those or bumping those films out. What's the problem now?
Listen, I think Elric actually said, why don't you take... You know, make $2 million, give it to an up and coming director, somebody who just made something hot this past year. You know, one of the films that maybe made our top 10 lists or something. Give it to him, let him write a script, rush it into production, get it out in a year. Do the same thing the next year, dude. You're telling me you're not gonna make a return on a $2 million Friday the 13th movie?
Yeah,
fuck exactly. The $20 million budget, dude.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Just. You're gonna make a killing either way. It's crazy to me.
It is crazy. It is crazy. They're completely overthinking this to the point where we got to do something new. We got to compete with all this these new ideas and
too. I'm down for the new thing.
I'm not
too,
saying it's a bad thing.
Another one.
That's exactly what I mean. They're at the point now where it's been so long in between films that they need to put something out, to kind of keep this thing alive. I mean, all the hardcore fans are always still going to be there, but guys, come on, man. We, just do something.
I'm getting nervous that I might not live to see another one. I'm being serious. Like, I love Friday the 13th. Like, I could get cancer tomorrow.
That's exactly how I feel with Nightmare on Elm Street too.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I mean, after that remake, I was like, oh my god, a
Well,
piece of me
you're
just
probably
died.
not gonna live to see another good one.
Probably not. Probably not, man. That's so sad. And the Halloween thing, I think, is like even a bigger mess.
Yeah, it really is.
You know,
But
that one's just all over the place. I mean, they keep revitalizing the script, and then they just keep dumping them and start. Oh my
well, that's
god!
what they did with Friday the
Like,
13th too. David Bruckner is no longer attached. That's why he
I
came out
know.
and said this stuff. So
I
it's even more annoying.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're gonna do.
They
There's
just stop
rumors
playing with the big
that
guns. Stop playing with the big guns, and like you said, you know, give some up and coming director a couple million. Do a fucking Friday film, man. They're gonna make money on that. Then they can go and make a bigger one. But work on the scripts in the meantime.
yeah, there is rumors that with Dimension kind of losing the rights to Halloween that maybe all the studios dropped what they were doing in order to sort of make a mashup of the characters, similar to what Marvel is doing with all their damn superhero movies, because that's like what's hot to do right now.
Yeah.
Which I would kind of be in favor for that. But I also heard somebody say, like, how do they do this without making it gimmicky? You don't do it without. It's gonna be gimmicky no matter what. I don't know what that it's. You're taking characters from different movies and having them like battle it out. It's gonna be gimmicky. It's gonna be what Freddy versus Jason was. I don't think you can really do it any other way.
Well, they got to bring Shelley back.
He's dead, dude.
Just the actor, you know, just put him in there. It's just having his face in there will be enough.
The final thing I want to touch on before we move on from this topic is you did mention about how, it's not that hard to just write another Friday the 13th film. Like, they don't have to be super different, and they don't. But if you look back at them, they were all pretty different. They just had a new concept in each one. Like, part one is the original slasher. Part two was very different. They brought back the son. The killer's no longer a woman.
They were the same but different. That, you know, it was very much the same formula but different kind of same formula, same setting, just different.
Well, part
just different
4
story.
you're kind of dealing with a kid, and then part 5 they're like, what if we changed who the killer was? And then part 6 is like, what if we brought back the killer? And then part 7 is like, what if we made him face Carrie? And then part 8 is like, what if we took him on a boat? And then part 9 is like, what if he went to hell and we killed him off and we didn't learn anything from part 5? And then Jason X was like, what if we take him to space? And then 11 was, what if we put him up against Freddy Krueger? So they've always been kind of different. You just add something. Just be like, what if we put him in the winter? That's good enough. That's it. That's right there. That's all you need. Just something little like that, and then you just write another Friday the 13th.
That's exactly what the story could be, man. You know, a couple guys that go out ice fishing to Crystal Lake, and mayhem ensues. There's your fucking movie. It's set in the snow. It's different, and it could look really good. Blood on that white snow, Friday film.
Down. I've always.
There you go, man. You just have a stupid fucking setup. Yeah, a bunch of people are going out there. They bring their snow hut, and they're fishing, and well, Jason pops out of nowhere, of course, like he always does. And
we could axe the ice fishing thing.
No, that's how you get them. How are you going to get people out in the wintertime?
What do you mean? They go to the cabin in the winter. Like, look at dead snow.
Yeah, well, okay, so they go to a cabin, but what are they doing at the cabin? Yeah, I mean,
you can have a weekend getaway.
Exactly, but that's just that's really generic.
Yeah, but who's going ice fishing? You're gonna have hot naked girls going ice fishing?
Fucking right, those things are heated, dude. Those fucking huts are heated, dude. You could sit there in your shorts and ice fish, man. It's fucking awesome. So yeah, you could totally have titties in there. Faux show. For show. It's a good setup. I mean, you got to do something else to sit in the cabin and drink. Get out there, ice fish, have some naked boobies in the snow. Fuck yeah. That's good.
Okay.
There's your film. There's your film right there.
That's the news. That's the messiest news we've ever had, probably.
Yeah, nothing overly that's intriguing, but it is what it is, right? News is news. Can't help it.
Should just start making up the news.
Just start going. Well, we just kind of did. We're giving out ideas for Friday films like we usually do, but yeah. Alrighty, so moving into Mood Swings and the DVD and Blu-ray releases for January 26th, 2016. Man, this month has been pretty slow, to be honest. It's like Scream Factory and Wild Eye releasing. Every week it's the same thing over and over again, isn't it? First up here, we got a film that I've actually heard relatively good things about. I have to admit though, like when I first saw the trailer for this by accident, I was watching TV and the trailer came out because I don't watch new trailers and stuff, but it was for something I wasn't overly that intrigued. But I noticed that Jack Black was in it, and I was like, ugh, ugh. That's like my initial thing. Like, I'm not a big Jack Black fan.
You tell me you don't like Jack Black in The Pick of Destiny?
I,
Can't you see he's the man? Let me hear you
don't
apply.
mind
He is
Jack
more
Black
than a
and
man.
small-
He's a shining golden god.
I don't mind Tenacious D and stuff like that. It's okay. But whatever. But Jack Black to me is, I need him in small doses. But anyways, the new Goosebumps movie's coming out.
Which I've heard nothing but good things about, by the way.
And exactly. So, I mean, I'm going to check it out eventually. I actually meant to go see this at the cinema, but I never got around to it. But yeah, heard really good things. So that's good. That's a good thing. So next up here from Scream Factory, we've got a movie that I really didn't know a whole lot about. I've heard of it before. Kind of surprised me that they were releasing this, but it's called Jack's Back with James Spader.
Jack Black. It's Jack Black.
I know, go figure, right? Jack's Back. With James Spader, and I'm not sure if this one ever had a release before. I could be wrong, but I'm not even sure if this is like 100% horror.
I've heard good things about this one, honestly.
I think it's like kind of psychological, or I don't know if that's the one, but who knows? But it looks intriguing. Anyways, I like James Spader, man. He's pretty cool. He's really good in Crash, in David Lynch, in Lynch's Crash, or Cronenberg's Crash. I mean,
yeah, it's labeled
Strange.
under crime horror mystery, so IMDb does have it.
That's right. Okay.
It's a Jack the Ripper tale, I think.
Yeah. So next up here from Arrow Video, this isn't by any means a horror film, but Arrow releases always seem to kind of get lumped in cult cinema and things like that. This one's kind of cool, man. It's called Nakatsu Diamond Guys, and it's a 3-disc edition. It's got 3 different movies on it. Voice Without a Shadow, Red Pier, and The Rambling Guitarist. And I think these are like, I think 2 of the 3 are in black and white, and one's in color. They're like kind of like 50s, almost like Asian type high school gangster film. I don't know. I'm not really 100% sure exactly what these are all about, but I've heard good things about this set. So if you're interested in those type of films, check it out. That's just a weird release.
You know what? I actually got a screener for this today. That
really?
was 1 disc. So I don't know if like all 3 of these films are on the 1 disc or they're just sending me one of the films.
Oh, that's yeah. Because from what I've read, all 3 films are on 3 different discs.
Yeah, because what Arrow does with their screeners is they're not actually the full versions of the films. They're like pre-production copies.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they're not like. So I don't know if all 3 films will be on there, but I'm kind of interested.
Mm-hmm. Moving along, next up here from Scream Factory, we've got a release called Sunny Boy,
which I think is probably the most interesting release that they've done lately because of like the reputation that this film has.
Yeah, I love the way this thing's described. It's like unlike any film you have ever seen. Sunny Boy is an unsettling, wildly bizarre allegory on the devastating effects of child abuse and the violent consequences that follow. That sounds awesome. And it's got David Carradine in it also, and I'm not sure if this one ever had a release either. So that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool
It also
release.
has Brad Dourif in it, the homie Brad D.
Nice. Good stuff. Yeah, so that one looks pretty interesting. Definitely caught my attention. Next up here is, I believe this is like some type of independent release or whatever, and it's called In the Hell of Dixie.
Looks awful.
Just the name is, the cover and the name, it goes hand in hand. It looks shitty.
Can you get any more generic looking than that cover?
Nope. Moving along, man. We got one here from Wild Eye, and it's called Survival Knife. Can you get any more generic looking than that? It's got a girl with her back to you, so you just focus on her ass, and she's just holding.
And she's kind of looking over her shoulder slightly.
She's looking over her shoulders.
Sunglasses on.
So it's kind of got like that little paranoid feel to it, and yeah, I don't know, man. Wild Eye, they've been releasing some fucking garbage lately. Like, I can't even explain it. Moving along. Speaking of Wild Eye, here's another one, and it's called The Thrill of a Kill. Um, yeah, like I said, one thing that Wild Eye is doing really well these days is promoting or getting their films out there visually. It's very reminiscent of the 80s. Their cover arts are fantastic on these films, and it's very much like the 80s because in retrospect, a lot of the films back in the day had better cover arts than the films themselves. I think this is kind of the case with a lot of these releases too.
Yeah,
Um,
the only problem I have with cover art like this, and I've had it my whole life, is that it's just so unreal. Like that's not what a chainsaw does to somebody's face is if it touches it. It's just not. It's just to me it just instantly it
yeah,
seems cartoony. That's not
I
what happens.
I guess, but I mean, for something like this, I guess you gotta kind of disconnect yourself a little bit. But at the same time, I mean, it is, but it's eye catching though. Like when you see it,
Yeah,
you
it
do
looks good.
focus on it, and but who knows for the quality of the film? I mean, there's been some recent like Acid Bath, some reviews going around. We're talking like 1 out of 10s and things like that. It had cool cover art, not the greatest, but anyways, the thrill of a kill looks like a slasher film. All right, moving along here. We got one from Tomcat Releasing, and it's called Mansion of Blood. Now the cover art is pure shit, but it has Gary Busey in it. That's intriguing.
It actually is. Like
I,
that's
I
one of
thought
those
Gary
things
Busey
that I
was dead.
totally would just look past and not ever notice that Gary Busey was in it.
I know, like I haven't seen Gary Busey in a film, probably in a horror film since I don't know, Ginger Dead Man. It's been a while.
You know
So
what's funny is like you mentioned the cover. Like literally, I could probably make this cover. Like if I
yeah,
just messed around with my program a little bit, like I could probably make this.
I know it looks like shit. I'm not saying that your cover.
Well, no, it's I'm not a professional. It should look way better than something I could do.
I know this just looks so bad. It totally looks like someone just put this together on some cheap software. Oh, it's god awful, god awful.
Goffle.
Um,
It's goff.
Goffle, it's Goffle. Moving along here, we got another one from Wild Eye Releasing. What a surprise! And this one's called Serial Killer. That's very original.
It's actually called Serial Caller, but
Ah, dude, I didn't even notice the A.
you didn't get a press release for this?
No, I didn't because yeah, I was totally not reading the actual Amazon label on. I was reading the cover and I just saw killer. Serial caller. You're right. And it has a phone on it. So that makes sense. Got Debbie Rochon in it. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. It's Wild Eye. You just never know what you're going to get.
Mhm.
You really don't. Mixed bag.
I
Mixed bag.
actually didn't request this one.
No.
They released a press release for this one that you could request it. I just didn't go for it.
I don't remember getting one actually. I might have. I just I don't know. I'm kind of in the shit books with Wild Diary now because I laid down some pretty extremely shitty reviews for him, and I think he got pretty pissed off at me. I think I might have got kicked off the list for a second time. But again, that's just me being honest. Anyways, moving along, we got one here from Full Moon.
Nah, I forgot they was making shit still.
Yeah, me too, man. I thought Charles Band was just concentrating on doing, I don't know, Puppet Master 11.
Yeah, I do hear that they're working on a documentary with him and Roger Corman.
Well, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. I would actually like to see like just a full blown Richard Band documentary.
Hey, if you ever get the chance, Moods, and any of the listeners, go back into Killer POV's archives and listen to the one they did with Charles Band. Amazing.
Yeah, you told me about that one before. I will for sure. But yeah, from Full Moon, we got one called Sideshow, and who knows? I swear this movie was released before, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Anyways, it's called Sideshow, probably obviously to do with circus freaks and things like that. So you know how Full Moon does it. Who knows?
It's kind of a trash cover, by the way.
Oh, again, yeah, it totally is. It's just I mean, it's better than Mansion of Blood. Definitely better than, I don't know. It's still pretty shitty though. Fucking Full Moon. Probably cost them 3 cents to do that, But moving into the release of the week, and this one right here is like absolutely a no-brainer for me. I got to go with Sonny Boy from Scream Factory. So if there's one release that you need to pick up this week, got to go with Sonny Boy, David Carradine. Who else is in it?
Our homie Brad Dourif.
Oh, Brad Dourif, yeah. Brad Dourif is in this one, and it just sounds interesting. And I have heard good things. I believe Zach actually told me this movie's awesome, so that's cool. you know.
Yeah, I think, you know, just to remind everybody, even though we do get a lot of awful movies from Scream Factory, they do release stuff like Troll 1 and 2 where you can get it for 89 cents in a dump bin or whatever. That it seems like people do like to focus on the negative things. But we also get stuff like Sunny Boy, which I'm assuming is cool, but you know, Pete, the word on the street is that it is. And
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
as much as they released the ninth version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 or whatever, there still are other things there. It's not like those things replace these things. Like they do both. People just forget that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is true. That is true. And getting back to cover arts and stuff, I'm still sticking with it. I was looking at those releases again actually this morning, of because I was going through Scream Factory's page and I was seeing what was coming out, what dates and things like that, and I really don't care for the cover art for Village of the Damned that much at all.
It's not really good.
I was looking at it, I was like, ugh, I don't know about that, man. And like, you know, I mean, I know that you really liked, you know, the
Chainsaw 2,
Chainsaw
awesome.
2 one. Honestly, I don't really care for it's a little too busy for me, but it's actually the colors. I don't, there's something about it. It kind of reminds me of the Serpent and the Rainbow one.
Do you know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
Stretch's radio station, which is exactly what it's supposed to remind you of. The
Yeah.
colors, it's the neon, like that's what it is. It's that, and whenever you go down into the tunnel with all the lights hanging everywhere, if you really look at it, it looks exactly like that.
Oh no, I've analyzed it to death, and it's just the busyness of it. I like simple things, you
But
know, just simple and just,
that film, if you look down in
I
the caves and stuff, it is busy. There's shit everywhere.
Oh, I know, but sometimes the way I see cover art stuff, it doesn't have to be fully representative of the film. Like I don't need to see, you know, this and that, and okay, yeah, I understand. Like all these things are from the film, but then you know, I mean, I could just have a simple chainsaw with open legs on the cover and be like,
Yeah,
sold.
but the problem is with that is this isn't to like market the film. This is to show. This is to represent the film, and it like that's what the fan or the
Yep,
contemporary cover art is kind of supposed to be.
I get it. I get it. I mean, it's just difference in like what we want to see. You know, I mean, busy art to me sometimes is just like, holy shit, man, it gives me googly eyes, man. You know, and it's like,
I think it's one of the best covers since Day of the Dead.
yeah, Day of the Dead is I really like Day of the Dead, which is very kind of similar in an aspect. It does have, you know, scenes and I think maybe it's the colors. I really like the Day of the Dead, you know, color scheme on it too.
Hmm.
But with that said, you know, I like the Serpent and the Rainbow one a lot, and you know, it's kind of similar in color scheme. I'm assuming it was the same artist. Was it Milliner that did those ones? I'm not even sure who did
See,
some
the
of those ones, but
Village of the Damned one, like to go back to that really quick, the reason I don't like that one a lot is I feel like it's similar to why I didn't like the Sleepaway Camp ones all that much, and it's because the actual art, the structure of the humans in the art just looks a little off. Like their face doesn't look real. It doesn't look natural. The thing I like about Chainsaw 2 is Dennis Hopper looks exactly like Dennis Hopper. Stretch looks exactly like Stretch, and Leatherface looks exactly like Leatherface. That's often kind of forgotten a little bit is when the actual design of the human faces don't look right, and the Village of the Damned one really doesn't.
have they released the new art for Death Becomes Her?
Is it a collector's edition?
Yeah, it is.
Death
And like
Becomes.
coming and speaking of Screen Factory releasing like strange things and you know in collector's editions to boot, like why Death Becomes Her? Like I know this is one of those releases that people were so confused about in the first place, but why collector's edition?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like
Well, I think I think normally with the collector's edition, the non-collector's edition, really just comes down to like what they can actually acquire. Is there a lot of like pre-existing bonus features? Is there a lot of like people who they can talk to? Like, I don't
I
know.
honestly can't remember. I mean, I'll be honest, I have the DVD of this because it's actually kind of a funny film, but it just seems out of place for Scream Factory to release this film. Like, remember when this first got announced? I joked and I said, "Did you ever think that Scream Factory would be releasing a film with Meryl Streep in it?"
Yeah, see, when you say jokes like that, I never really get them because I don't really know who that is.
Oh my
So
God,
it's
Meryl
like
Streep
I
is like
never.
Meryl Streep is probably the biggest female actress of all time. Like she's
Really?
won. Oh yeah, dude, she's
She's
literally
won
won.
what? If you're about to say any kind of award shows I don't follow, that's exactly why.
Well, yeah, she's been in like so many fucking huge movies.
I've
Like
never
Meryl Streep is kind
like
of a
what?
staple of
What has she
of
done?
what has Meryl Streep done?
Yeah.
Dude, you guarantee you've never seen any of her movies because you don't watch her
Well,
fucking
then
movies.
what the hell? Then why is it so surprising that I've never seen heard
No,
of?
but
I
it's
mean, I've
just the
heard of
name.
her. It's just
It's
that I
just the
don't.
name.
Yeah.
Like it's like Jason Statham.
Okay, I've seen The River Wild. That's
I've
one
seen
I've
like
seen.
3 movies with him in it, but I know who he is. You know, it's like there's certain people I do know that I've never seen any of their
Did you say
movies.
Jason Statham,
Yeah, like
the British guy?
I'm not actually a
Yeah,
huge fan.
he's been in fucking John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars. Of course, I know him.
Well, there you go. But I'm just saying, Meryl Streep. But just long story short, Meryl Streep is Meryl Streep. I mean, she's legendary. She's like a John Wayne, like it's just household name. Everyone knows her name.
I
But
think
anyways,
so,
but the
John
fact of the matter
Carpenter's
is,
Ghost
this
of
was
Mars.
such a strange movie, even when it came out back in the day. That like Goldie Hawn, Bruce Willis, and Meryl Streep, like fucking strange film. But again, just a weird one from Scream Factory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why
You know what? I actually think that that might be the film where they said they couldn't do new artwork due to legal reasons.
Oh, you know what? They're
'Cause-
actually, yeah, they're showing that with the original art as the slipcover.
Oh,
Oh, okay. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe they're right. There is no new art. So that's what we're gonna get, the original art. Crazy.
which isn't even good.
No, it's just it is what it is. Yeah. I mean, Meryl Streep's head turned around makes sense on it to me, but yeah, I don't know, man. That's one of the weirdest releases by Scream Factory for sure. So
Yeah. I gotta be honest, it looks like something I won't even like, so
I can't imagine you really caring for that film too much, but but anyways, that is gonna do it for the new releases of what is it, January 26th, 2016. Man, this month has been slow though, hasn't it, for releases?
yeah, just a lot of Scream Factories, really.
Scream Factories and Wild Day. It's been kind of an odd month. But yeah, I don't believe that we have any voicemails or questions this week, which is
Yeah, we actually did have that one voicemail from Lawrence, apparently, but apparently it also just cuts out like halfway through, so I don't know if he lost cell service. So Lawrence, if you still wanted to ask that question or whatever he was gonna say, just call back. And
yeah, it was strange. It got about 17, 18 seconds into it, and it was just like cut off. And he was getting into something about zombies and how it's played out, something like that. That was the full extent of I got out of it. So yeah, so no voicemails or questions this week, which is very odd. It's been a while since that's happened, actually.
mm-hmm.
So, alrighty, so getting into the Corner's report of weird stats and morbid facts, courtesy of Rue Morgue magazine. This one is coming from issue 152, which is the January-February 2015 year-end show for 2014. And the reason why I got this one is because I actually just got this in the mail. They had screwed up because I subscribe to Rue Morgue magazine, and when my subscription's up in January, right? So it was up last January. Anyways, I resubscribed, but for some weird reason, they never sent me this issue. They started the subscription on the next month. So I had to actually go back and back order this one. I just got it like the other day in the mail. So kind of a weird story. I was so pissed that they didn't send me this one because I had subscribed back on time and they just didn't send me this one. It was fucking strange. But anyways, so I had to pick it up because it was like this little void in my collection. It was pissing me off. But anyways, when Anthony Perkins expressed doubts about representing the role of Norman Bates in Psycho 2, Christopher Walken was considered for the role. Perkins, of course, eventually took the role. Could you imagine?
Christopher
imagine?
Walken as Norman Bates. That would be insane. I can't even imagine what that would sound like. Like, there's people that can really do his voice well and like the way he talks. I wish one of those people were with us right now so they could give us like a Norman, like we like if they was like we all go mad a little sometimes or whatever, like if they did it in his voice. I don't even want to try it because I can't do it, but some people do it so well.
Mm-hmm. Even the thought of Anthony Perkins not reprising that role, that's a weird thought. I can't even picture anyone else in that role.
You mean not even Vince Vaughn?
And that's my point. Vince Vaughn, that was just bad cat. He did not fit that role. But if anyone could have stepped in there, I mean, Christopher Walken is kind of creepy looking a little bit. You
Hmm.
know, he very much could have kind of stepped in there, same type of, I guess, build at the time and things like that. So I think it would have worked a lot better than, Vince Vaughn did in the remake. But Christopher Walken also he's a unique type actor. I think it would have been a lot better fit, but I don't know, man. Anthony Perkins was the man, you know,
Oh, most definitely.
just,
And I think what helps with both Psycho 4 and this Bates Motel TV show is that they casted a kid to play a kid Norman Bates. So it's not really like the Norman Bates. So it makes it less of a jarring because you're like, oh, it's when he was a kid. Of course he's going to be different.
yeah, totally. I still need to get into that, man.
Yeah.
But putting it off way too long, way too long.
I've been
But
wanting to check it out again too.
yeah, I know. I keep hearing good things. So, and it seems to be doing well. So, what are they? They're in the fourth season. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think so.
Moving along. So, yeah. So that is going to do it for Mood Swings. And moving into WWW portion of the show, we haven't done what we watched in. It's been a
Wow.
while.
It's been a while.
It's been a bunch of shows since we've done what we watched. So
My personal favorite segment of this show is what we watch. So
really, yeah, I don't know. It's okay. It's okay. No, I love it, man. It's fun. It's
what's your favorite segment then?
Honestly, man, I like the news. I know it's some people's less favorite because I'm always shocked by it. You know.
Yeah.
So
I think
don't
the
know.
news would be my favorite had I not been the one going to get the news. If it's some
Yeah,
like that time we had Jeremy do it, I actually enjoyed it a little bit more.
I have to agree with that. I probably wouldn't enjoy doing the news if I had to do it either. So, but yeah, what we watched, of course, if you're a first time listener, that is just a rundown of films that we've watched over the week. And we just give quick reviews and ratings and we pass the bar along. You want to go first, JP?
Yeah, I'll go first. So this one took me 6 watches to watch this week.
Oh, it was 6.
Yeah, and it's called My Little Eye from 2002. And I'm not saying that it's bad and that's why it took me 6 watches to watch. I just had the worst week for watching films this week. I watched nothing almost except for these 2 films that we're covering tonight and this one right here. And the reason is just I was like really tired. I lied. I did watch another film that we for that Martyrs podcast, but it was just something about this week. I couldn't get into this film. I couldn't get into any film, but it was mainly this film. It was the way it was filmed because it follows 5 young people who apply to live in an isolated house together for 6 months, whilst their every move is filmed by numerous cameras. Each has their reason for wanting to be there, whether it's fame, fortune, or whatever. So there's a bunch of people in a house competing for $1 million, a la Big Brother or something like the real world. And honestly, I'm surprised I never heard of this film because it's kind of gimmicky. 2002. This is like really when reality TV's at its height. Like Survivor just aired in 2001. So it's a cool concept, and it's a little dated. Like by little, I mean a lot. So that's part of the problem with this is it's dated. But the other problem, it has this very voyeuristic look to it because there's all these cameras that were kind of point of view, but it's also very weird because they don't expressively say like where these cameras are. Like they seem to be in impossible spots, that there's so many of them that there's literally cameras everywhere. And for 2002, it just seems like, oh, like this technology probably wouldn't exist to be live streaming like this on the internet. It just seemed a little too big for the time. And especially when they start talking about like hacking and the server and, it comes off so dated towards the end. But it also is kind of a little creepy in that voyeuristic sense. But the camera is also very bad. Like it's not as bad as like Halloween Resurrection where it looks like it's a filter. This just looks like it's filmed with crappier cameras when you're looking at the point of view stuff. And I can't tell if it's like all those cameras or if it's supposed to be all those cameras. It feels like sometimes there's just like a camera in the center of the room. So there's not cameramen either. So it's a weird, they don't really explain it to the audience of like how they're being filmed. It's just like there's cameras in the house. And then these people start kind of seeing bad things start happening, and then they're like, oh, maybe they're the producers of this show is kind of up to something. They're very secluded. There's not a whole lot of information to the audience, which is kind of cool, but at the same time, it kind of just, we've seen it before, but it's not true because at the time we hadn't seen this that much. So I don't really know how to really tackle it from seeing it at the point of view that it came out. I can only really see it from today's point of view. And for that reason, it's not the worst movie in the world, definitely not the best movie in the world. I do think it's pretty much an average film, maybe slightly above average. Might be worth a watch. Not super good. There's some cool scenes in it though. I give it a 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10. Wow, I was expecting it to go a little lower on that one.
No, it's definitely not bad. Like, it's for surely not bad.
Yeah.
It just took me 6 watches to watch it.
I mean, how many films can you honestly say that's happened to you with?
A lot.
Really? 6
It
times?
happens all the time. Like, all the time. Like, it happens to me more than you probably know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because like I always try to I always wait till the last possible moment to watch stuff, and then I'm all tired.
I have a lot of patience, man. But like, if it was taking me, 3-4 times to get to, if I kept falling asleep, I'd probably start to ask myself the question, like, maybe there's a reason. Maybe it's not just that I'm tired. Maybe this movie sucks.
But it usually is just because I'm tired. Like, I do that with good movies. Like, stuff we have to watch for the podcast takes me 5 watches sometimes. Five tries, 5 attempts. I'm just not. I don't watch as many movies as you. I can't do it. OCD, just ADD, whatever you want to call it. How many movies do you watch a week? I watch like 4 maximum usually, and that's a lot for me. It seems like it takes up so much time. I don't know how you guys do it.
Even last night, man, I was just like chilling. I watched 5 straight.
I did. The last time I did that was probably Children of the Corn or something. Like, yeah. And it's because I had to. I can't remember the last time I did that on my own. When I was a kid, I used to do it all the time, but with technology and like Facebook and Xbox and stuff, I lose patience.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of bad.
Yeah. Alrighty, so first film this week I watched from 2015, and it is called Wrecker.
Oh, you heard of this one? This. Yeah, I've heard. I had a screener opportunity, skipped it, and then I was gonna watch it for the 2015 show, but somebody told me to skip it.
Yeah, I actually just got my copy the other day from Anchor Bay. It was like out of the blue too.
I think this is a Macabre title out here, maybe.
Is it? Oh yeah, okay. But yeah, if you're not familiar with Wrecker, it's basically just a Canadian homage to like films like Duel and things like that. It's pretty much like Duel, actually.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Is it a homage or is it a ripoff? Because I've heard it be described as a ripoff.
Well, no, it literally says on the back that it's actually a homage to road classics like Duel and Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah, but that's from the marketing.
True. I mean, I guess I would have to talk to the director specifically, but there is a couple scenes in this film that are straight homages to Duel. Like, they're taken right from the film, so I'm assuming that he's given a kind of a shout out to Duel. I don't know. But yeah, the premise of this one is basically about 2 females in this one instead of like one guy in Duel. They're just on a road trip to wherever, they're heading somewhere. Anyways, of course, they come and they start having a little issues with this truck driver who's actually, it's kind of like he's pulling another vehicle, which is such a strange premise in itself. He's basically just what do you call him? The people that pick up fucking cars. What are they called?
Tow truck?
Tow truck. Holy shit, I couldn't think of a fucking word. But yeah, it's an odd tow truck. It's a rig. It's like a full rig, kind of like in Duel, but kind of converted into like a tow truck. It's kind of a strange setup. But anyways, they kind of have this run-in with this driver, and then they get into this cat and mouse game. Very simple. It's pretty much the exact same as Duel. Now, my thoughts on this one, yeah, I noticed a couple things right off the bat. There was a couple, straight up homage scenes to, from Duel. Most notably, there's a scene in a diner where, they stop in to eat and stuff. And then, of course, the truck pulls in and they have a freak out on this guest, and it turns out not to be that person and things like that. And then there's another scene where the truck stops on this hill and they're there. And, so there's those blatant things. So getting back to the ripoff thing, I'm not 100% sure if that's what they're fully going for, but Who really knows? This one right here is, oh, man, it's just it's a piece of cinema that is just like it's too convenient for its own good. Everything that could go wrong goes wrong. In this one, but the thing that this film lacks is just it lacks action. For lack of a better term, there's not really a lot of dueling going on in this film and stuff like that. There's not really a lot of tense moments. For a film that's supposed to take place on the road, with a big rig and a car, it doesn't really make a lot of sense because, the girls are driving a 5-liter Mustang. It's a brand new 5-liter Mustang, and theoretically that car should be able to blow this junky tow truck out of the water. Right there, I hate the setup because in Duel, he's driving a very normal type car, like a normal sedan type thing, blah, blah, blah. It makes a little sense that, he would have problems getting away from that junky rig because this thing's got power. In this case, it doesn't make any sense. They beefed up the car too much. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Of course, they can't escape this truck and they start running into situations where everywhere they go, phones don't work. They have no cell service. They even go into a bathroom where the fucking water doesn't work. There's no soap in the dispenser. There's like nothing is going right for these girls, and things like that. And, it's just all these kind of like weird things, but just not enough action and suspense to keep you intrigued in this one. It's very odd. There becomes a point in the film where one of the girls actually gets abducted. And so she's trying to chase, now she's after this guy and blah, blah, blah. It's just not believable. I really don't like the direction in the film that they took with this. I will say there is kind of a twist towards the end of the film, but with that said, it's just not that great. There's predictable moments in this. There's a very, very predictable moment with a cop. And I was like, okay, this is going to happen. It fucking does. Another problem with this film, it's rated 14A, PG-13 or whatever. So there's not really a lot of gore.
Is that really Canada's PG-13, 14A?
Yeah, 14A is the same. But I think there's a PG-13 and a 14A. I think there might be two different ones. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, this one just kind of lacks in all that. It doesn't have any of those real tense moments, which is such a problem in a road horror film. I will say the acting is pretty good, though. The girls do a good job in this one. I just didn't like the way they had them driving a 5-liter Mustang. It's just the probability of it doesn't make sense because those cars should be able to blow this thing out of the water. And I didn't like the look of the truck either. They used a truck that was so kind of new looking. It didn't have that, that rusty, shitty look of the truck from Duel. If they're trying to do a full out one, the truck wasn't scary. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. Right. I will say the one interesting thing about this movie is that it was all filmed in BC where I live. And I didn't know that going into the film. I knew it was Canadian. I didn't know it was all filmed in BC. So when I was watching the movie, I was recognizing scenery and roads that I've driven on a million times and things like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. The cinematography, catching the mountains and things like that, I thought it was well done. But for me personally, it was an interesting watch because I was seeing total continuity issues with the way that it was edited and stuff. To the average viewer that doesn't know BC, you wouldn't know any different. But there's scenes where they're driving on the road and it's next to the river, and next scene it's kind of like in this full out desert area, which I know exactly where that is, like in a place called Cache Creek. They're driving in the canyon and things like that. So the way it's edited, it's kind of funny to me as someone that's from BC seeing that. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But with that said, it's just a minor nitpick. It's not really anything to whatever, but it was shot well. I thought the acting was pretty decent in this film, but yeah, this movie just, like I said, completely lacks in suspense. And that's the biggest issue with this movie. It's just too convenient for its own good, predictable. And I have to say, man, the ending of this movie, man, was just a disaster, a fucking disaster. I heard
Jason say that.
Yeah. Okay. So leading up to the end, and like I said, oh my God. Okay. So there's this twist and you're like, okay. And then, but the actual end of the film, oh my God, it is so bad. And it's disappointing too that they, this whole movie it is what it is. And then this end scene happens and you're like, what the fuck? It just ruins everything that you could have possibly been liking up to that point. It was devastating. And then of course there's this really cheesy last shot in the film too, that just really puts the icing on the cake. You know what I'm saying? It's a very forgettable film. And, I've stressed this many times in the past. I love road horror films. And I know you do too, JP. This one right here is very, very forgettable. And it's just such a shame that they tamed down this shit, man. Like 14A, come on, man. There's like no blood, gore. It's just not a lot going on with a really shitty ending. Very disappointing film. I'm going to give it 3 out of 10. Yeah, it's just
Jeez.
there's not a lot to take away from this. Like I said, some of this, like I really like that it was filmed in BC and that just seeing those roads, like I've drove on a million times, like it's right down to Vancouver and things like that. Very cool, but just unbelievable moments. Like, are you kidding me? A 5-liter Mustang against this fucking rig? Think about that for a
I
second.
don't know anything about cars or what that
Okay, well,
even means.
first of all, if you were driving a 5-liter, like it has enough horsepower. It's I've driven them before. You would be able to blow this thing out of the water. That the rig would never be able to catch up to you, especially pulling a fucking car. It's a tow truck.
Well, you know what they say, man, women drivers and such. So
Yeah, I actually didn't want to bring that up, but I was thinking the same thing. Maybe it has something to do with them, her being a woman driver and stuff. But I just didn't like the convenience of things not working, and in the film, it's just it was becoming a disaster. The script was
yeah,
bad. There's really no like direction to this. Oh, we'll throw in this little twist at the end here, and maybe that'll fucking perk things up. And it's like, no, it doesn't work. I mean, oh, dude, CG end. That's all
yeah,
I'm gonna say. It's
yeah.
fucking terrible.
Jason said that as well.
Oh God, he's
He
so
he
right.
really kind of said stuff about the CG.
Oh, it is bad, dude. Like and it's so much more noticeable in a film that doesn't have any up until that point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like it's this normal road horror film, and then all of a sudden they have this big CG moment, and you're like, it's like ultimately devastating to watch. You're just like, no,
Yeah.
it's horrible.
All right.
So yeah,
So I believe we're doing segments now. In my segment this week will be pick of the week. I did not have a horror 101 or a closer look at or anything like that, but we got a old school pick of the week here. And this one is also from 2002. Moodz had reviewed it on the podcast before, and it is titled Deathwatch. Deathwatch is a film set in 1917, World War One, and I love the concept of war horror films. Barely ever done, but I love war films. I love war, the history of war, stuff like that. And horror, I just think could go so well with it.
war horror.
Yeah. So we're following a British group of soldiers who are pushing forward towards a German trench in a foggy night. They capture one of the German soldiers that advises them that this trench is actually evil and that it's going to force the soldiers to turn and on each other and kill each other. And he tells them to leave the place. Of course, like the American soldiers are like, yeah, whatever, dude. You're a German soldier. We're not going to listen to you. And one of the soldiers in the British company is Charlie Shakespeare, and he is actually under the age of 18. He kind of lied to get in there, which was very common of that era, Civil War, World War One era, where people would lie, teenagers would lie about their age, that they were 18, so they could go to war. And so then all kind of creepy, dark stuff starts happening. One of the things that I'll say right away about this film is the atmosphere is so rich and thick that you can't help but fall in love with it. The setting, that is the key word in this film. Setting is brilliant, like literally brilliant. The setting in the trenches, the mud, the rats, the just depressing vibe.
Yeah.
It rains nonstop. They're covered in mud. They have these big coats on. The mud is literally
doesn't it feel uncomfortable
on
and
everything.
Wet?
It's the best trenches. I'm so realistic looking in these trenches. The set designer, whoever the people are that made this goddamn set, need to work on like the biggest films ever because it looked so real. The vibe was there. I felt claustrophobic. I felt like they're stuck in this depressing place, which, honestly, if you look into any history of war stories, like people would spend weeks in trenches, just up to their ass in mud and just stuck there with rats and the dead bodies. Like you can almost smell them because that's what it was. They were just, what are you going to do with them? You're going to put them somewhere else? They're just there, man. And I think that like the film itself, like the storyline and stuff, it's kind of basic. There's not much to it. There are some creepy shots and nighttime stuff, and it kind of plays out, I guess, almost how you would expect. I thought the ending was pretty decent, but it really is just the atmosphere and the setting. I love that about it. It's honestly one that I want to recommend to so many people just based on the look. Like I just was so obsessed with the way that it looked. Another film that we talked about a long time ago called The Squad also had a great look to it, but the story was just garbage, and it was, you know, a war horror.
Yeah, very disappointing.
Yeah, this one is a lot better than that. The setting is key here. I'm not going to tell you too much about the plot and stuff like that. You know, how it ends, but
Yeah.
you know, decent stuff here. I give it. The only other thing I'll say before I get into my rating is I think the main problem comes from it. The main issue that I think could have really elevated the film was the fact that you have Shakespeare and you have like one or two other guys, but one thing that you always look at war horror film or war films in general, one thing that you always see is the characters. They always make these characters stand out, unique, because they're all sort of dressed the same. Like you have to make them have a personality, have a history. You have to make it to where these characters feel like unique individuals, because then you care about them when they die. It's very important in war films.
Mm-hmm.
This film doesn't do that well. It does it okay, but not well. And that's one of the things that I think could have made this film really shine. I give this one a 7.5 out of 10. If you're curious on another take on this film, you could also go back to episode number 34, where Moodz discusses it. He gave it a 7 out of 10.
Wow, you actually give it a higher rating than me.
Yeah, 0.5 higher.
Crazy. Yeah, I thought that movie was pretty interesting. Definitely the look was the coolest thing about the film, though.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome.
Those trenches were fantastic. Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Alrighty. Yeah, so getting into my Italian stallion of the week, we go back to 1972. This is a giallo, and it's called The Red Lady. The Lady in Red Kills 7 Times. Or this movie has like tons of different titles. That's what the IMDb title is. The DVD I have is called The Red Queen Kills 7 Times. You know how it is, man, with these Italian films. They got like millions of different of titles and things like that, right? But yeah, you know, I'd always heard of this film and never had a chance to see it because it doesn't have a release over here. This is actually a German DVD that I had picked up, which, you know, I had to search around to make sure it had Italians. It had English language on it. And I have to give my man Zach all the credit for finding this one, because he actually found this copy and he's like, oh, check this out. I'm like, holy shit, there's actually a copy of that. So big ups to Zach for finding this one, because yeah, pretty cool film. But the premise of this one, basically, I'll give a little bit of the backstory because it's pretty much the whole story of the film. It's basically, it takes place like, you know, 100 years prior, and there's this myth of this red lady. And basically what happens is there was 2 sisters, and they were called the Red Lady and the Black Lady. And these sisters, they hated each other with a passion. For whatever reasons, one night, this Black Lady, she enters her sister's room and stabs her 7 times and kills her. Of course, 1 year later, the Red Lady rises from the grave, and she ends up killing 6 innocent people, and the 7th victim was her sister, which is also known as the Black Lady. Now, the myth is that, you know, every 100 years, this kind of tragedy, it repeats itself, and, you know, people start getting picked off. So present day, you got these 2 sisters, they're living in this castle. Anyways, they end up inheriting the castle because they live there with their uncle, and their uncle passes away and things like that. And of course, right after this happens, innocent people start winding up dead, and they're wondering if it's, you know, due to this, you know, Red Lady coming back, or this Red Queen coming back from the dead and knocking off people. And that's your story right there. Now, my thoughts on this one, you know, it's a giallo film, but it's kind of different because it has like this kind of, you know, supernatural angle to it, you know, and, you know, in typical giallo fashion, if you're familiar with them, there's not really a lot of like straight up supernatural giallos. It's not really the thing, right? You know, giallos, it's all about twists and turns and incoherent plot twists and, you know, plot holes and things like that. Yeah, this movie right here is a prime example of all of that. The Red Queen Kills 7 Times is a very typical giallo, but it's really good, though. It's really good. you know, this one definitely has some very memorable kills, and that's one thing about giallo films that you always look forward to is the kills. I was very surprised at how awesome the kills were in this, and I was reading up on it, and there is editions of this movie that are heavily cut, and there was editions that were like 30 minutes shorter and stuff, and I was like, holy fuck. But yeah, this one is a company with really good kills. Of course, it has an early 70s color blood and stuff, which is ridiculous. I know you hate that and stuff, but it's kind of funny to look at. uh,
Yeah.
it has beautiful women in it, lots of nudity, gratuitous nudity. It's not like sleazy nudity. There's quite a bit, but the cast is fantastic. But the thing that keeps this movie going is just all the characters. There's tons of characters in this. It kind of keeps you guessing, going, is it her sister? Is it not? Is it the supernatural? You don't really know what the hell is going on because there's this police investigation. They keep leading, in one direction. Brings you over here, brings you over there, and things like that. And it's kind of cool because there's a lot of characters in this, and it's at times it's almost like hard to keep track of. It's like, okay, what's going on? Accompanied with obvious plot holes and things like that. But I really did like the end, though. The end of the movie was good. Everything leading up to it was fun. It was good to look at. It had good visuals, good set pieces. Like I said, the kills were the kills are fantastic. But the scenes and the setting and stuff, just really well done. Love the castle, love the water, everything about it was really cool and stuff. But the whole third act in this movie is just crazy. And then the whole explanation for what happens is like so incoherent. You're like, really? But it's like it makes you smile and you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll buy into that. There's even scenes in the end with like rats and like crazy underground tunnels, and it's really cool, man. This one I had a lot of fun with, man. I thought it was just a blast. Really, really good stuff. This one has a very early entry by Sybil Dannings in this film, of all people, in 1972 in this Italian giallo. Isn't that crazy? I was like, that's, really kind of strange, very unrecognizable. But Barbara Boucher is like the main character in this film. Very, very beautiful and stuff. But yeah, if you've never seen a Red Queen kill 7 times and you like your giallos, check this out, man. It has all those things that you look for in a giallo. Like I said, very fun stuff. I give it about an 8 out of 10.
Cool. That's going to be one that's going to be hard to remember the title.
I know, right? The Red Queen kills 7 times. That's the title I have on here. And like I said, the IMDb title is different, but when you type it in, it comes up as that. So you know how it is, man. These movies,
Yeah.
like I said, there's so many different damn titles, man. Ridiculous. But yeah, super fun film though, I have to say. And the transfer on the DVD was good. It was good. So good colors. So yeah.
All right.
Good
Awesome.
stuff. Alrighty, so getting into the main featured reviews of the night. Yes, we're going to be starting out here with a film from 1942, directed by Jacques Turner. I can never pronounce this guy's name, man. I don't know. But produced by
I think it's just Jacques Turner.
Something like that. Yeah, I feel like I'm saying it wrong. Probably butchering. Me with names, I'm butchering things all the time. But produced by the infamous Val Lewton. I think he produced, I want to say 9 or 10 horror films, in his career and stuff like that. And this is one of them. I think this is the very first one that he had done. So, and it of course is Cat People from, like I said, 1942. Yeah, like directly right in the middle of World War II. Yeah. But getting into the brief synopsis of this film, I'll just read off the IMDb synopsis of it. It says, American man marries a Serbian immigrant who fears that she will turn into the cat person of her homeland's fables if they are intimate together. Yes.
Yeah. Intimate together, huh?
If they are intimate. So she's fearing something. So what are your thoughts on this one?
First of all, I like that technically it's pretty goddamn well done in terms of just like for its time. I've heard people talk about this film a lot about how certain things are very innovative. I'm pretty sure I've heard people compare this to like the first jump scare utilized late in the film with I believe a bus.
Yeah, with the bus. Yeah. This film actually is credited for that, which is,
whether it's true or not, I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, we really probably won't know, but it is credited as the first jump scare.
I think that's cool though. So I recognize that stuff right away. Like technically,
yeah.
There's a lot of interesting, camera work and different music cues and stuff like that that's very effective. I mean, when you really pay attention to that scene with the bus, it really is like exactly how you jump scare. You have a certain noise and it's, the camera's going a certain way, and then something comes from the other side and it has a similar sound to what you're currently in fear of. In that case, it's a cat, and the
Hmm.
bus makes a psh, like sound, like almost like a hissing or something, which is, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've actually seen videos break down that scene, why it's effective and why
Yeah.
it's been used over and over and over again in, you know, Hollywood and film throughout history.
Yeah, it is very interesting that it came from this film too, because it doesn't really appear to be that type of film that's probably going to start jump scaring you.
No.
It's a very slow paced film with a storyline that is out there, but it's very subtle in itself too. This film to me is so much a product of its time. There's so many subtleties in this movie that that they were trying to get across with visuals and stuff, but they just couldn't say at the time.
Mhm.
It was like simple little things like you know um the couple dealing with adultery and just general relationship stuff, because back in the 40s you didn't talk about those things. Like if you were having difficulties in your relationship and stuff, even them going even I guess Oliver getting his wife help, sending her to the psychiatrist and stuff
Yeah.
is interesting. It's like it's almost like risky, like you didn't really talk about that, and those things
Yeah.
just never kind of got out. So there's all these kind of weird subtleties that are happening in the film and things like that. I think it's actually kind of interesting how they did it, but you
Yeah,
know,
and it really, watching a film like this now where Facebook is so, prevalent in time and everybody airs their dirty laundry and stuff, you kind of do remember a little bit like, holy crap, everything was so much simpler and kept behind closed
yeah.
doors back then.
And that's what I like about this film. Like I said, it's a very subtle, like the story and its subtlety, and it's executed pretty good because it has a psychology to it that you don't really know if it's like in her head or if she's just totally believing this fable. If it's you're always kind of wondering as the viewer, if it's true. If she has sexual relations with a normal man, is she going to turn into a cat or whatever? Because they bring in the whole psychiatrist thing, and they
Yeah.
kind of
The
they
the
kind of do all the,
sexual relations are also very like under lock and key in this one.
it's very subtle, and it's like I said, it's a time of its product too, because that's a good point. Because I love how they do it though, because I mean the movie's really short, so they kind of get right into it. But Lorena, is it Irina and Oliver, they meet, they get married like super fast. Like
Super fast.
in
They
the
don't
film
spend
it seems
much
like
time
super
with
fast.
that. Yeah, it actually, in today's time, that's the wrong way to do it. Like you wouldn't do it that way in today's
Yeah, no,
in
no,
modern times, because
no.
there's no development to that story and audiences would be thrown off by it. So that's definitely something
Yeah.
that is also of the time, is to be able to just do scenes like that and storylines like that really quickly.
100%, because it totally worked in 1942, but when you watch it now you're like, you know what, it just doesn't work, because they have not only not had sex, obviously, they haven't even kissed, and
Yeah.
they don't even say that in the film. Like I said, it's all subtle, so like you're dealing with like all this general relationship stuff that's just kind of beaten around the bush in the film, and it's got like this, I don't know,
Yeah, it's
this.
almost they use like the kiss in exchange. Like in the remake, it's about sex, but in this one, it seems more about like the kiss and just like more simple.
Exactly. Yeah. Just a subtle, very very subtle film. Yeah, there's lots of those moments, that even from the 40s. I would like to know what people thought of a film like this in the 40s, because the hints are there. Like the scene where Oliver's sitting by the water cooler, and he's talking to his coworker, who quite clearly is in love with him, right?
Yeah,
It's a very awkward scene, and you can only see this in movies back then because it's just being acted out. There's nothing in the dialogue that states that, like, she's really into him and things like that. I just find it so interesting because it's such an awkward moment in the film, because he's telling her that he can't leave his wife and things like that because it's just not appropriate, blah blah blah, because she might be sick and things like that. And then she starts to cry. It's like this really strange moment in the film. I always think that moment is like, who cries over that? Is she crying because she feels bad for Irina? or is she crying because, well, she's not going to get Oliver?
Yeah, it seems like a different, once again, a different time.
Oh, I know.
That's something you would kind of cry over. There's like a kind of a thick mythology to this film as well, which I'm a fan of mythology in films. I'm a fan of taking like a story and kind of creating rules and stuff around it. And it's
Hmm.
kind of a bizarre one, honestly. Like the idea that like you turn into a cat.
Yeah. And
But it's not, and even in the remake, we'll get to it. They're not cat people. They just literally turn into cats. It's
mhm.
not even like a cat like creature. It's a cat.
Yeah. I mean that's the thing. They beat around in this one and things like that, but in the remake they kind of changed it a little bit. With having sex with a normal person turns you into a cat. And then you have to kill to regain your human form, right?
Yeah.
And things like that. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, this film right here is just the meaning of it. It's very kind of progressive for its time too, because 1942, the film noir genre didn't exist. And this movie is kind of like an early adaptation of like a film noir in a way, because quite obviously it's dealing with the sexual motivations and things like that, and it's very stylized and things like that. So in that sense it's kind of ahead of its time, of course, with the
Well,
jump scare
when would
too.
you say that the film noir genre started?
I believe it started in the 50s, right? So
I
it was
was pretty
rough.
certain that it started in the 40s.
I think officially it became a thing in the early. I'm not exactly sure on the dates and stuff, but
Because I know I've seen one film called The Maltese Falcon, which is considered one of the early noirs, and that was from 41.
yeah, yeah, okay. Um,
But yeah, this film is actually classified on IMDb as horror, thriller, and film noir,
mm,
which is interesting, right? Because
yeah,
I can't think of another time that we've reviewed a film that was considered a film noir.
I know it's very strange. Like this one is, the horror elements in this film are very well. They're subtle, like the whole film is.
Yeah,
So why not the film noir aspect of it too? It's about a relationship, and it's in a way it's kind of supposed to be kind of psychological, but in a sense it theoretically really isn't. Once you kind of get down to it and things like that. But you know, I've read a lot of different things about this film too that you know that she was just she's very confused, because the film definitely is about sexual confusion, right?
yeah, that's a metaphor for the cat thing.
Exactly. And it could be played as, if she never does turn into a cat or whatever, it could be just a huge metaphor for her, her sexuality and lesbianism and things like that too, right?
Yeah,
I think that's kind of interesting. It's just like a huge metaphor. So you can kind of look at this film in like different ways, really, and just kind of perceive it in different ways. So,
yeah. One
but
of the issues that I was actually having with this film is that for one, it's out of print, so I didn't have means to like an official copy, so I just watched it on YouTube.
mhm.
And I should have actually spent the $2 and rented it, because the version on YouTube was in parts and the film quality wasn't the greatest.
Mhm.
It wasn't bad either. It was just standard def though, like just you know on YouTube. It just wasn't as good as I was wished that it would have. So I feel like some of the scenes that are supposed to be like filled with tension or suspense, the actual very few scenes of thrillingness that's supposed to like scare you, it just maybe it didn't come across super good for me. But I do feel like this is a film that if you would actually kind of maybe read a little bit about, or you would go and listen to
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
people like us or somebody else talk about it and then rewatch it, you might pick out a little bit more. Honestly, if you had like a film professor like kind of point out all the things that were revolutionary for the time, I think that would be interesting too. Because I know there's a lot there. Like I've heard people talk about it. I've seen some of it for myself in this with the jump scare and stuff. But
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I would like most about this film is kind of the history of the film, the
Mhm.
stuff that it achieved.
Yeah, this is a film that predominantly just kind of relies on the myth of it, Is the myth true? And that's where the psychology comes in. And there's very little suspenseful moments. I think really the most suspenseful moment in the film is, the pool scene where you see the shadow of, the cat and things like that.
Mhm.
And that's generally what it is. But even the setup to that scene, I never really cared for too much because I don't know, man. It just seems so obvious. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
No, you're right.
You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't seem like it's a great setup. It's like she goes in here and all of a sudden, woo, it's like it just seems. I mean, I guess the film being so short and being such a low budget film and stuff to you, I guess you can't really, you can't, develop something bigger, for those
Yeah.
moments. So yeah, so the horror and the suspense in this one, it's mostly just about the myth and the psychology. That's what this film is.
I
It's
don't
just
really know if it was that low budget. I mean, is $134,000 low budget in 1942?
they had $130,000 for this movie.
134,000.
Man, I could have sworn. Wow, it's crazy too because you can tell it's just shot on sets and things like that too. It's not on locations, like it's totally shot on sets. And I'm really surprised by the budget on that. But I mean, the movie was only 73 minutes. That's why I was assuming that it was very low budget because there's not really a lot of development. Like I said, in the film, Irina and Oliver get married, and are living their life within 10 minutes of the movie, kind of thing, right? They didn't develop anything. So
Do you know that the bus was called the Luton bus?
was it really?
And that's because it's, famous scene created by the producer Val Luton.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I was just checking out some of the trivia, which I like to do from time to time on films.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, man. This movie, I've always really, enjoyed it for what it is. But I will admit, though, it's very slow paced for a 73-minute film. You have
Oh
to
yeah,
admit
I
that.
mean that I actually specifically remember watching it, and being into it a good deep ways, and I'm like, this could, as of right now, this could not even be considered a horror film
I know,
because
right?
just nothing really is happening. And it really does spend a lot of time. There's a lot of talking in this film. There's a lot of time spent with the relationship, and to me personally,
Yeah.
I feel like that's where the film becomes problematic because you do have to kind of put your mind in a weird place because it just doesn't feel like a genuine relationship. Like these two have been married, yet they've never like kissed or had sex.
Well, that's because
You
there's
know
no
what I mean?
development with their characters. It's like they get married and instantly they're having problems,
Yeah,
right?
and
It,
it's
it
just
doesn't
like
seem
you
believable to the
can't
viewer.
really buy the love,
No, you
right?
you really can't. No, you really can't.
And I know that people say like, well, you have to put yourself in 1942. You have to put yourself. Well, I'm so far removed from the idea that you can marry someone and not have sex that like it's hard to put myself in 1942 for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, was it even like consider? Is that even like? I feel like that would even be considered like weird back then.
No, I don't think so, man. I don't think
No.
so. One thing I really do enjoy about the film, though, is just how it portrays that time period. Very, the film's trying to look very glamorous. If you notice that, like, they really glamorize, smoking in the film and things like that.
Yeah,
Like, it's
and
it's all there. It's
that
very
was a
Hollywood
product of the
feeling.
time too,
Yeah.
especially with the noirs, like the glamorization of
Oh
things.
yeah.
And I kind of always liked that.
Hmm.
Whenever, just thinking back to that film that I recently watched called What's the Matter with Helen. I think that was set in like the 40s or something like that, and it was like really uh, glamorous. That was like kind of the thing they was going for. I like that.
Yeah. 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 I kind of it's like a lower budget film. Well, I'm 130,000, but it's not one of those Hollywood blockbusters at the time. But I think they did a good job with the look of this one, considering it was quite obviously shot on sets and things like that. But
Yeah, this
I
is a
mean,
film that almost always pops up in books or
yeah.
lists or anything you kind of read about film history. It's one that kind of always pops up.
Do you think this film, in a sense, is like, the film itself suffers for what it's pretty much known for? It's
I think
known
so.
for
I
giving
think
the
so.
world that jump scare, and everyone's like, oh yeah, yeah, cat people. It was the film with the jump scare and things like that. But if you really look at the film, it's a very, very simple film that is not really that developed. Like you have this myth and you have the psychology to it, but then, and then you have this little minor third act with minor suspense. It's one of those
Yeah.
films that's just, it's very plain and simple and to the point.
I think that it's one of those films that, like, if you dissect it and you take like certain scenes out of it, like that's like the real benefit of watching it, is to just see like where this like information has come from, and just like looking back on it. I don't feel like this is, as a film, you know, kind of how I was feeling earlier, where I felt like the fluidity of myself was off in the podcast. I feel like the fluidity of this film is off as well.
Yeah, I
It's just
mean,
not flowy enough.
well, it doesn't flow because it totally has that choppy feel because of the lack of development, and that's just something you got to deal with when you watch it too, right? It's just 73 minutes. What do you do with development, right? you
Yeah.
know, really nothing. So I don't know. Relies on look and myth. I don't know, man. I still really do enjoy this film. I think the acting overall is really well done. I don't really have a problem with the acting. I mean, there is some. I want to say maybe Oliver Reed's friend in the film, the other girl there. I think she kind of overacts a little bit at times, but then
Yeah,
again, that's
it's like kind of the time acting though.
it really is though. Like sometimes it just makes me smile. I'm just like, that's awesome. They really think they're doing a great job. They're not trying to do a shitty job. It just comes off so just
Yeah,
exaggerated.
the very minor bit of like character development pre-marriage is where they're kind of at the zoo, and there's that little scene with the paper basketball where she's trying to make and it's like a cute like flirtatious thing, and
Mhm.
then it's just straight into marriage after that, pretty much.
I know, right?
It almost feels like a goddamn like Disney cartoon movie, like fucking
It almost
101
feels.
Dalmatians or something.
I always wondered though. It's like, Oliver. He seems like this very kind of successful guy. He's like a marine engineer and things like that, and like he's just willing to meet somebody and marry them that quick. Like, it just feels like he's kind of hurting. I need to settle down right now. I don't know. It's kind of interesting, but yeah, there is lots of metaphors and things that are going on in this film that you can, which I think is kind of cool. If that's what was intended. Like there's a scene where she goes back into the cages, and it's kind of like a metaphor for like letting the cat out of the bag kind of thing, and like there's little things that you can kind of dissect, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I don't know what else really to say, but it's such a short film.
You want to go into ratings?
Yeah, sure.
All right, I'll go first on this one.
Yeah.
It's by no means a bad movie. That's for sure. It's just not one that I would really go back and watch again ever. I'm glad I seen it for its historical purposes, and it was, mildly entertaining. I can't say I was overly joyed by the end of it, where I was like, man, that was so good, But it was like, all right, I see what people like about this. It's
I didn't
not
like the
really,
scene on the couch.
it's not really my like favorite, but I came.
I was really just kind of joking. It's just like, okay.
So I'm going in at about a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, honestly, man, I enjoy it. I just wish there was a little more development in this film and just a little more suspense. I think this film could have benefited a lot from that. It just would have made it a lot more believable, if you had that more development and you had a little more suspense and things like that, and just didn't rely on such subtleties. But, like it is a product of its time, which I hate saying over and over again, but it really is. You just, there's all the things that aren't in this, in the remake that aren't in this one, like the nudity and, the more hardcore things, I should say, dealing with sexuality and things like that. But I still really enjoy it, though. I think it's actually pretty decent. I give it 7.
All right, cool.
Hmm.
So, 1982's Cat People. This one was directed by Paul Schrader and written by a few people, actually. Dwight Bodine and Alum Ormsby. Don't know either of those people. So this one actually, I find a little. I guess I'll get into the plot. A young woman's sexual awakening brings horror when she discovers her urges transform her into a monstrous black leopard. So this one opens up, and right away, I gotta say, man,
Yeah.
The opening of this film is just beautiful to look at. It's these red colors with these old like tribes people with leopard spots all over their asses.
Yeah, yeah. It's very, very surreal. It's almost to the point where it's like not even, it's just kind of
Feels
almost.
otherworldly.
It does. It feels like, yeah, it's not real. It's just surreal. It's very, very colorful and well done. I love that opening sequence. It's great.
Yeah, and there's like all this like it's like the world is like a little more red
Yeah,
or
exactly.
like orange.
Yeah. And I like the way they set that up too, because then it goes into the backstory and they tell the backstory without using like any dialogue.
Yeah.
I like that approach. Again, it's like, it's kind of like a homage to like, the 1942 film, which is very subtle. Here it is. We're just going to kind of give you this little minor backstory. And then, they obviously kind of elaborated on it more throughout the film, more in like towards the third act of the film. But I like that though, that approach to the film.
Yeah. So this one, I got like, it's such a weird film for me because the first thing that I'll take note of is it feels like a mainstream, like, well made, like almost Hollywood film where they're really trying and they got like talented people involved, but yet it feels like it has like sleaze and cheesiness to it too. It's a weird, bizarre combo.
Yeah, this movie is so strange. I think that the insanely odd direction of this film and script, mixed in with like a lot of, um, well, really good cast members and things like that. Like
And
there's a,
cinematography, doesn't it just, it feels so big and it's
it
like
does.
it still feels cheesy to me too though.
I know it's such a strange combination. Yeah, it does, man. Cinematography is great. Script is weird, but it has like this ensemble cast that's like so usual of like, one of these straight Hollywood mainstream films, but then the movie itself really kind of isn't. It has
Yeah.
like this weird kind of weird kind of balance to it that in my opinion kind of works. Like it's got some big names in here, man, like Natasha Kinski and Malcolm McDowell, John Hurd. I mean, even John Larroquette's in this film. Lynn Lowry's in the film.
Yeah.
It's nuts, man. There's a
It
lot
feels
of
very mainstream, like
it,
for sure.
it does. It feels very mainstream when you see, the leads and the other cast members and stuff like that, do their thing. And then when you kind of get down to, certain scenes in the film, it seems very kind of Indian, kind of underground.
Yeah.
It has this weird kind of balance. It's a very strange film. It's a very
It's
strange
almost
film.
like almost like a art housey.
Yeah.
It's like mainstream Hollywood with like a high budget. Like it had an $18 million budget, which is pretty high, I would assume.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I mean, they put together quite the cast, so they probably had paid a lot for that
Yeah,
stuff too.
yeah.
So, but
But even early on, like you take the first scene, which instantly I'm like, I think I'm gonna love this movie. That's what I said to myself, just based on the first scene. And then you move and you have the hooker scene where she's kind of in there, and then the cat's like in the room, and then dealing with the cat the next day. And I was even really into it then, and then I feel like it lost a little bit of steam.
okay, where about the time do you think it kind of?
Well, like right after they get the cat.
So about the 17-minute mark is when we get our first hits. I actually wrote that down.
Oh, really?
So yeah.
So I was still really into it at the 17-minute mark then.
Yeah. Awesome.
I don't know. Like it was like a weird. It feels like it's a couple movies mashed into one for me.
Yeah. I think this is a very interesting erotic thriller that is just, it just doesn't know what it wants to be at times. It's kind of a strange film. Like I said, there's so many aspects of this that just scream like Hollywood, and others that are just so like it's just.
I'm telling you right now,
this
film has some great scenes, like in terms of technical, like types of scenes, like shots.
Yeah.
There's like shots in the bathroom where the camera like pans back and up and away, and then there's other shots where they're under stuff or like over stuff. Fog is good, lighting's good, the like rain and pool scenes and stuff.
There's some artsy gore scenes.
Yeah.
Like when Buddy gets his arm ripped off and then the blood's kind of flowing down towards a drain, and
like stuff like that. She's standing with the drain by her feet and stuff. Yeah. So it looks really good.
Hmm.
But then you have this sort of incestuous, like nudity that feels like that it's there just for nudity being there. And there's penises a little bit. You see little penises every once in a while. Uh, so it has this almost like sleazy feel to it too. And then it feels like it's trying to be real serious, but the fact that it's like this fucking cat and this guy is like in love with this cat, and it's like this is kind of
Hmm.
cheesy feeling. Like I don't think you could play it serious because it's just like you can't. This is what happens when you play something super serious, but the audience kind of sees it and it's like, it's just kind of cheesy. I don't know. It's just it doesn't feel. Maybe the subtlety of the original
Yeah, I don't.
was like
I never really thought that they were just throwing in the nudity just for the sake of having it there. I think it's there for the fact that the movie is like psychosexual, right? It's about the sexuality, and because that's the myth of what the cat people are. They can really only have sex with each other, and I don't know. It just has everything to do with sexuality. So I think the nudity just comes hand in hand with that.
Well, I say, yeah, okay. I agree that there are these because it's a story about sex, but at the same time, dude, you can't tell me that a hooker falling down the stairs and her bra bursting open isn't just thrown in there for
Okay, yeah,
tits.
I'll give you that one right there. But there is other scenes and stuff that I think it's totally there, for a reason.
Obviously,
For yeah,
obviously.
but that is a good example though. Completely, I agree with that. So
Yeah, definitely. It's such a bizarre film for me though, and I watched it on the Blu-ray, the Scream Factory Blu-ray, and I was almost interested to throw if I had more time and I wasn't tired as hell to just throw the special features on and hear some interviews about like what the what the hell they were attempting to do, like what the core concept was behind the film and like the thought process while making it, because it was just it's one of those films that I don't know, like I don't really know how I feel about it. I didn't love it, that's for sure.
yeah,
I liked
it's
certain things about it, but I also didn't like certain things about it.
yeah. Unlike in the first film, how the first film is so subtle with the sexuality and things like this one. This one is just blatantly out there, and I love the fact that they don't shy away from, the whole incest and the whole culture, the whole myth of their, the cat people.
Yeah,
It's
this one is really like that. It's like they took everything that the original like kind of suggested and they made it literal in this one.
Yeah, because they even have a monologue too. I think it's Malcolm McDowell in the film who says, he basically explains to her sister because she's not really too sure
Hmm.
exactly who she is in the film, and and that's a good part of the film too. She really has no idea who she is, or she doesn't have an identity. She really wants to find out, but she finds out very quick in the film um, that he explains to her that this is who we are. If you have sex with a normal person, you will turn into a cat, and the only way to to get back to human form is to murder. And and that's his whole thing,
It's
right?
kind of
Because
like the Wolfman a little
it
bit.
really is. And the thing about this film is that it showcases that. Like there's a police investigation because these people are, going missing or whatever's going on and stuff. And they literally find like this cage with all these human bones and things like that. It's just
Yeah,
like it's just so
which is
blatant.
cool. Like those types of scenes in this film are cool, like the
I
gore
just
and
like
stuff.
I like how they showed that animalistic, type, survival right there. That's what he does. But it's all sexual. It's sexual.
Yeah,
It's really interesting. It's all about sexual. It's not, he doesn't have to kill to survive. He doesn't even have to have sex. It's just, but that's just part of what the cat people are. And
yeah. The cat people, I think that if they could have really, because the girl was a virgin,
mhm.
I think if they really could have maybe focused more in on their need for these sexual desires, that's exactly what they were, like uncontrollable desires. I feel like that would have definitely helped, but I feel like they attempted it, but they didn't really get it across like it was like a need.
Yeah, at times I feel the exact same way.
Because then you could just say, just stop, just don't have sex with anybody. Then, if, you know what I mean? Like, I know that that's going to be kind of like crappy life or whatever, but
Hmm.
at the same time, like, at least you're not going to turn into a murderer.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I understand his motives though. Like in the film, like I think when you first see the film, you know, Malcolm McDowell comes across as such a dick in the film, and he's just like, what the fuck is he doing? You know, he just seems so over aggressive with his sister and things like that. But, you know, in hindsight, he's really just trying to, you know, prolong his people and stuff, because this is the only way that they can really kind of keep going on, you know,
Yeah,
or
he has
else
to have
you're
sex
just,
with his sister.
yeah, because you're just going to be oppressed theoretically, because, you know, every time you have sex with a human, you fucking turn into a cat and you got to
Yeah, but
kill.
is
So,
it kind of almost makes me seem like he's not even the bad guy. Like what he's doing is like, okay,
well,
yeah, like maybe in
Well, no, but
America.
the thing is, he is the bad guy though, because he doesn't have to be having sex. He actually likes it. You know, he doesn't mind doing what he's doing, and that, so
Yeah,
in
I
a
guess
sense,
so.
he is kind of a bad guy. But at the same time, when he approaches his sister and says, "Hey," he basically says, "Hey, we need to fuck," you know. But you know, he doesn't do it in a very, you know, polite manner or anything. He comes across as, because at this point she has already found out who he really is and what he's been doing and stuff, and she's kind of piecing things together.
Yeah,
And
but
you know, it's a very awkward scene. And at first, you know, she might be given into this, and of course she doesn't. And so, you know, you understand his motives. You know, he's trying to be good, but at the same time, he's just a complete jerk because he's, well,
yeah.
killing people. And
Well, maybe these
so,
cat people are just kind of jerk species, right? I mean, like
yeah,
these cat people obviously they what he says is like they can't mate with humans. They can only mate. They don't turn into cat people if they mate with their own relatives, which
yeah,
is like the
exactly.
incestuous thing. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like it's kind of like maybe that's what they should be doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because if
Well, I
that's how
think,
they continue to exist, and that's how they're that what they've known, it's only wrong because like we as humans, it's wrong for us to do. If it's not wrong for these cat people to do, then she needs to shut the fuck up.
yeah. I mean, I think they did kind of hint at the fact, they might even have said in the film too, that they were like the remaining cat people left. So
Yeah.
I understand
Wait,
from his
actually,
point of view is like, well, you know,
but wasn't
if we,
there a scene in a bar or something where somebody's called her sister or something?
yeah, I know that's a very strange scene. I've never really been fully able to kind of figure it out. Like if that was thrown in there to be like, hey, this is kind of like a prelude to a sequel type of thing. I don't know what the hell that was about. You know, she says Romana
Yeah.
or whatever. Like I know that's such a strange scene. I don't know. Maybe someone
Yeah.
can explain.
But
I have never understood that at all. Um,
whether whatever the reasoning is and everything that we're talking about right now, it's kind of a problematic plot to begin with, you know, because it's so weird and there's like just
I don't know if
questions
it's I don't know
surrounding
if it
it.
I don't know if it's that problematic. I think it's just in its approach. It's just, you know, it's so in your face, and you're just like, okay, you know, you're kind of focusing on him, but he does have legit motives though, because they're apparently the only two people left, and he just wants to prolong the race
Yeah.
theoretically. And like he really does state, he's like, you know, our mom and dad were brother and sister too, and he's like really trying
Yeah,
to
and that's
convince.
why I can't help but like kind of side with him if he would just calm the fuck down and not be a dick about it.
Exactly. But that's the thing. They kind of took that approach. And I think they took that approach in the film to, you know, kind of, once they eliminate him, if they do or not, you know, to kind of justify maybe her later in the film. Maybe that's what they were trying to do. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because if he's still around, maybe it doesn't work as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the her boyfriend guy, I feel like I feel like if this chick's like told me she was a cat or like I find out she's a cat dude, I'm not gonna really love her anymore. I'm sorry.
I know. I
Like I'm
know.
not gonna be doing some bestiality type stuff.
I've always had a little bit of problem with the very end of this movie, to be
Yeah.
honest. You know, I've seen this movie a few times, and to be honest, I do like this movie because for me, it's like a very kind of surreal, hypnotic, almost visceral, you know, almost psychedelic
It is,
ride that
and
you're
I
on.
like that
You
about
know,
it
it's
too.
very there's very
Um,
vivid dreamlike sequences in the film, especially when she has that one dream, and it basically kind of, you know, it fully convinces, it tells her exactly who she is. You know,
and
it's a very kind of cool, vivid dream that she's having. And I like a lot of the things that are going on in this film, but its approach is a little problematic, and it seems a little forced. It feels like it's just they didn't want to take the time to kind of ease into this. They're like, okay, we're going to do this, and things are convenient in this film too, because she starts dating a I don't know what you want to call him, like a zoologist or something like that. You know, and things like that and stuff. One aspect of this film I really did enjoy was the use of, well, obviously, like the effects were good. The effects were good, and the fact that they used
They
a
used
lot
it.
of real animals.
Yeah, I did like that
The
because the
look of it's
scene where they have the animals stuck in like the little whorehouse apartment building, and dude's climbing up a ladder and they're shooting at it, like, and it's hopping the hell all over the goddamn room, tearing it up like that. There's no, that's real. They're not faking that. It's just there's a real like Black Panther in this room
oh,
tearing
I know.
shit up, and it's great.
It's kind of interesting because there's a scene where this Black Panther's on this table, and you can tell the Black Panther's real until they start doing like an autopsy on it or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but that scene is kind of interesting because they totally just knocked that thing out. You could see it breathing. I'm like, that is like, that's kind of crazy to be around. Like, there's some scenes there where you had to been, if you're working on that film, like any second now, any second, I'm gonna literally lose an arm.
It is weird though because there is like these transformation scenes where it's just funny to me that they literally turn into cats. Like it's not
Yeah.
even like cat monsters or like sleepwalkers type of thing. It's literally just cats. I don't know. Would it be better if they were like cat creatures? Like would the movie be better?
I don't know, man. Like, is there a thing with cats? Because I'm not like a cat person. Like, I have dogs and things. Like, but are cats known as like real like psychosexual creatures and things like that? Maybe that's kind of the
I don't know.
why
Not
they
more
are
than
like
any other
that.
animal. I don't think.
I have no idea. I'm just
I'm
wondering
not
if
a
that's
cat
what they're
person either.
why they literally turn into cats. They're literally a cat. So
Maybe if it's like rabbits. I know rabbits are supposed to like have sex a lot.
could you imagine how goofy that would be if they turn into rabbits?
Let's do it.
uh,
But anyway, there's certain things about this one that I do like. Like, I'm not saying that I don't even like this film because I did like it. I think that it's a little too long as well.
Yeah, this movie definitely. It's another problem I have with it. It's too long. Honestly, there's some scenes and things I totally can be trimmed down, and a little bit of development things I don't think need to be there. But yeah, it runs 2 hours.
That's way
Two,
too long.
2 hours is a long runtime for a film that kind of bounces around, and it takes you on like this roller coaster ride of, like we said before, it has this like Hollywood has this visceral look to, it's all over the place. But then at the end of the 118 minutes, you're literally exhausted.
And then you're kind of disappointed because the ending isn't that good either.
And that's the problem with this movie. That's the biggest downfall to this film, is that it simply doesn't pay off like it probably should.
Yeah, and one thing that I will give it a positive points for is the casting, not only for the good actors, but the female. I forget her name, but she
Natasha
actually
Kinski.
has cat-like features to her face. Like, I don't know if
Yeah.
it was like just the short hair, but like she actually does have this like very cat-like look to her. Like she could play Catwoman for sure.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Natasha Kinski, very attractive woman.
Yeah, and she walks around naked a lot too.
I know, right? Yeah, I mean, even what's her name? Annette O'Toole's in this film too. I think they even show her tits in the film too.
Yeah, there's a few.
Well, because there's a couple homages to the original film in this one. Of course, the scenes with the cages and things like that, but most notably the scene at the pool.
Yeah.
With Annette O'Toole and things like that. So
There's also another one that I noticed, and it's a scene with a bus. It's actually, it might be like a trolley or something, honestly, but they kind of do that, but they completely do it like the wrong way. Like, I don't know if they were just trying to say like, hey, we did a scene kind of similar to this, but we weren't trying to actually do a jump scare here. But I noticed that as well.
There's a couple of kind of like oddly funny jabs, like not like jabs, but like just funny scenes. Like there's a scene where her boyfriend is doing his rounds, or no, he's actually in the cage of one of the chimpanzees, and that chimp has a TV in his cage. It just fucking makes me laugh every time. Like it's in a zoo.
Yeah.
It's got a fucking
I did
TV
notice that.
in the cage. It's like kind of goofy, man. And there's also another really funny line in this film too, where I believe Irina, she asked her brother Malcolm McDowell, like, where you been? He's like, I was in jail. He's in fucking jail. I just like the way he said it. Fucking kills me every time. Because he's such a hard ass in this film. Like he's just not meant to be funny whatsoever. And I don't know, it comes across pretty funny, but
I think this was an interesting remake versus original, just simply because like these films, although very different, they have very similar concepts.
The core is there. The
Yeah.
core is there. It's these sexual beings and their myths and stuff like that. So, but this one is obviously not just solely. I mean, in the first one, it's more mythy and almost psychological to the point where if you blink at the end, you might miss something, kind of
Yeah.
thing, right?
It's
But
very
this one
suggestive, and this one
suggested,
is
yeah.
literal.
Oh, big time. Yeah, it's products of their times, man. You know, the first one's really trying to hide its sexual blah blah, and this one is just okay. There's Muff. You know,
Yeah,
right? It's
love
a
it.
totally different approach, and that's what makes the contrast kind of interesting. The first one, has this story and it's kind of there, but you can't even really fully say it. But this one, they have monologues saying it. It's like the 40-year span, and this is what, this is how we've grown as people. It's just so
Yeah.
much more accepted. I think it's kind of cool, man. But to me, this movie always has been a little disappointing. It's not that I don't like it or anything. I just feel that there was potential that was missed in this one. I just shorten it up a little bit, tighten up that end, make a better ending.
Mhm.
And I think we got a really, really good film here. I mean, you got a lot going for it, man. You couldn't get any better of a cast. A lot of cool faces in there.
Yeah,
John,
I think literally what you just said, make it a little bit shorter, like at least 20 minutes shorter, a better ending, and you got a cult classic here.
yeah, and actually, one thing I didn't mention that I absolutely love. I love the sound design in this film, like with the music and sound and stuff. It's
Yeah.
awesome. There's a lot of really good scenes, like, especially towards the end where I don't want to really give away the scene, but where her boyfriend finds her and there's this like body up in the tree and stuff like that. I just
Yeah.
like the way that whole scene kind of plays out and things. But the music in this film, like the score is fantastic. It has like this early 80s kind of like low key synth sound that really does work. It's not aggressive because the film's not aggressive, right? It's kind of laid back, like almost sexual, beat. It's really strange. And then of course you have the main theme song, Cat People by David Bowie, which is totally awesome too. I think it's awesome. I think the music's great in this film.
Yeah, I'm down with that as well. I did notice the music. I always like that type of 80s music too. It fits real well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, this isn't like your most 80s film ever, but the soundtrack just it lets you know.
Yeah. This one, honestly, I mean, if you're done, I would like to get into ratings maybe.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much done. I think I said all I had to say, except for there is one scene in this film that I don't want to really give away the full scene, but I'm just gonna say, rubbing a little bit of blood on her mouth
Yeah.
fucking gags. It grosses every time. I'm just like, ugh.
No, that scene didn't bug me at all. It's the one where dude like eats this stuff on his body. That's gross.
Oh yeah, I don't know what but it's because they're animalistic, right? I
Yeah,
guess,
well,
but
there's literally a hairball in one of the opening scenes, so
yeah, yeah. Ugh.
I don't even like cats. So, getting into the ratings, I'll go first again on this one just because I want to. So, this one, I liked it. I liked it a little bit. I think Moodz nailed it when he said if it was just a little bit shorter, better ending, it would be good. I feel like this is one that if I saw when I was a kid, I probably would like a little bit more. It's an interesting release by Scream Factory, honestly. The Blu-ray looked pretty decent as well. Did you watch this on Blue?
I did. Oh man, the Blu-ray looks fantastic. You know what's really fucking weird, dude?
Yeah.
I was watching the Blu-ray and I was like, damn, man, the transfer is really good on this. Like, it's really kind of popping and stuff like that. And I'm like, the audio's pretty good. Went on Blu-ray.com just to check out what the rating was. The PQ was like a 2.9 and the audio was like 4 point something. I was like, wow.
Yeah,
Either
they
I'm just
always,
either I'm losing
Jeremy
my
is always obsessed with whatever new shit comes out, like checking the scores, but I
yeah.
don't really look too much into it because
I
I'm pretty different than Blu-ray.com.
Yeah, me too, man. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like so confused by it. I was like, wow, I actually thought the transfer was one of the better ones. To be honest, I thought it really captured those vibrant reds and things like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Thought it was
plus the
interesting.
beginning of this film is just beautiful.
Oh,
Like,
oh yeah,
you
it's
can't
so
help
good.
but to look at it.
Well, that's
So,
what got me looking
yeah.
on Blu-ray.com. Yeah.
So, yeah, with that said, I think I'm gonna come in at about a 7 out of 10 on this one. It's a solid movie, not one that I'm gonna run back to because it is long, but
Yeah,
there's just a few problems I had with it. It's a little
yeah.
slow.
It's precisely why I barely ever watch this movie. And this is actually the second time I've watched this Blu-ray. When it first came out, I watched it, and I think I fell asleep. I don't remember watching the whole thing, to be honest, but I guess it happens. But yeah, like I said, man, I just, I couldn't describe the film anymore. Like, if I was just to describe it quickly to somebody, like I said before, it's just a very surreal, psychedelic, visceral, hypnotic type film. And I like those aspects of filmmaking. I like very kind of artsy things without being overly artsy to the point where it doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think they capture a lot of that art and, certain things in this film. But yeah, too long. The ending I really don't care for. It brings down my rating quite a bit. I like these sexual thrillers, and, it's cool, man. I give it 7.5 though. 7.5 out of 10.
So did you give the other one 7.5 too?
I give the other one a 7.
Okay, so you agree? So you think that this one's better than the original?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. It's one of those rare cases where I feel like they pretty much kept the gist of it and just improved on everything else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think it's like one of, man. I actually, to be honest, I like a few remakes more than the originals.
Care to share some of them right now?
Yeah, I like the remake of The Blob more.
I think we all do.
The Thing is another one.
Yep.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
So pretty much anyone that came out in the 80s.
Invasion came out in 78.
Okay. Fair enough.
Which is the second of 4 films, but I do like that one better. And I love the original one. The original one's really cool. Say I like this one more than the original. I think there's one more too. Can't quite remember. I like Halloween. No, I'm just joking.
Oh, you almost gave 9 fanboys a heart attack just now.
Exactly. Had to stir it up,
Me personally, I like all the ones you just named, and I know this is pretty crazy, but I think that I like the Hills Have Eyes remake better than the original. I think.
I used to think I did too until I've watched the Hills Have Eyes remake a few times in the last few years, and I don't think
it honestly doesn't. It does like decline the more you watch it. I've noticed.
Yeah. It's very, very much. I'm not saying I ever like the Dawn of the Dead remake more than the original, because that would be blasphemy, considering Dawn of the Dead is my favorite movie of all time. But yeah, Dawn of the Dead remake is an example of a film that every time I watch it, I swear to God, I lose a half point.
Yeah, I think I'm down to like a 7 or a 6.5 on that one now. I swear to God.
I used to really love it, man. And I'll never forget when I first watched it when it first came. I just loved it. I was like, damn, look how fast those fucking zombies are. It's crazy intense. Just going crazy. And I don't know, man. I really enjoyed it. And over the years, I'm like, man, I was fucking retarded with that one. So, I don't know what happens, but yeah. So basically the moral of this conversation is here. You got to give remakes a chance sometimes. Sometimes they turn out to be better than the originals. At least.
Not very often, but sometimes they do.
Not very often, but sometimes they actually do. And I'm sure there's other ones out there. I just can't think of them off the top of my head. But, yeah. Alrighty. So I guess with that said, that is going to conclude episode 70 of the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I definitely certainly did. What the fuck? Apparently I can't talk either.
Is that like a double negative or something?
I don't know what is going on there. Yeah, I certainly did though. It was fun. Even though we're lacking a little bit of news this week and things like that, but I think we kept it real.
It was like more of a chill show, just like a, hey, we're back to doing this weekly. Just, this isn't like a huge mega show, but it's just like a fun little remake versus original show.
Yeah. Exactly. And I like these shows. I like, having that little bit of contrast every once in a while. It's different.
Yeah.
Than doing just a franchise or just a single review. It's like a different type. You get to talk about 2 at 1.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
you want to take us out of here?
Yeah, man. Let's do that. So, a couple things you guys could do. Definitely subscribe to us on iTunes, review/rate. At the beginning of the show, we mentioned that if we get 10 by March 22nd, we might do we will give away something if that happens. So, it doesn't hurt to try and enter the contest. Twitter, 22 Shots Podcast. Facebook, check this out. This happened today, actually. Facebook.com/group/22 Shots Podcast. How about that? We actually have a URL for Facebook now.
Baby.
That's pretty cool. Moodz 616 on YouTube, Double Shot J on YouTube. Of course, horrorphilia.com, 22 shots of moods and horror.com. If you want to leave us a voicemail, which, Lawrence, I hope you call back and tell us what you was going to tell us the first time. The number is 724-426-6665. Again, that is 724-426-6665. Yeah, so with that said, we'll see you guys next week with a single standalone review. This one pretty interesting. We're going to do Sweatshop. From a few years ago.
Yeah, and we might be having a special guest.
I don't even know about this.
Yes, I may have acquired a boyfriend. That just sounds so wrong. No, it's not 100% sure because he does have to work until a certain time, but he's considering making up an excuse and leaving work early to do the cast. And I'm like, wow, we are so special.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So,
but anyways, yes, we might have a special guest for that one. So stay tuned for Sweatshop.